Now it seems, well, my voice just went up.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, August 25th, 2016. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 854.
This is No Agenda.
Performing the perfect pay-to-play and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in Austin, Texas, FEMA Region 6. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where it's garbage day, the trucks have come and gone. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
If I had to count up the amount of times you've told us about your garbage situation in 8 years.
I'm really not very good at these openings.
You got to work on it. You got to prepare.
Well, it's not in my nature. I'm pretty sure I can ad-lib one that's hilarious one of these days.
Okay.
So I was listening to you on the stream earlier, and I think we should reprise something you did. We normally don't do this, but I think we should because I think it's an important it's an important aspect of the show. Because what we do is we help people realize that the media, in particular, is a brainwashing mechanism that is not necessarily healthy for people.
Far from it.
So you read this little ditty that was, I guess, on the stream or someplace.
No, yeah, there's this one guy who comes back often in the morning just before the show starts, and then he floods the chat room with like long texts, which of course gets you banned pretty quickly. But I captured it this time. You want me to read it? Is that what you want?
Yes, I do. Funny. I would like you to read it because it brings to mind a number of anecdotes.
Okay, so this guy spams the chat room pretty much every show before we start, and usually it's really lewd, but this time it wasn't quite that bad. From CR82, to whom it may concern, consider me a former listener of the No Agenda show. In the last couple of months, they have made me physically ill. Adam and John go out of their way to excuse every Hillary negative as if they're paid shills of the DNC. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't surprise me if they were. They never delve into the Clinton Foundation. Rarely, if ever, are the emails discussed. And John, that California high-rolling progressive piece of shit, he's going to vote for Jill fucking Stein? Give me a break! He's a Hillary stooge, and we all know it. So that's it for me. I enjoyed the show for the past 10 years, but it's time for me to bid everyone adieu. Adios, mofos. And from the bottom of my heart, Adam and John, F you for propagating the DNC formula.
Well, of course, I
wow.
Yeah, but you can also doubt his sincerity. He may be a satiricist.
No, this is the same guy. It's the same person coming in. And, this is not his typical message, but...
Well,
it's very interesting.
We have a number of people that, we did this before. We talked about something that I think we may have resulted from a clip or someplace or something that we saw on the television or there was we discussed this where one guy interpreted it one way because he had been pre-programmed to see it that way, and another guy had interpreted it another way because he'd been pre-programmed. I just so happened that today, that's why I got kind of enthused about your little reading there, is I have a clip from the Jew show. The Jew
Wait a minute.
Show.
There's a show called The Jew Show?
Well, the Jew Show, it's on. They had this segment on food that I had to play, or that I clipped because it was so interesting. I want you to play this clip.
Tomorrow, we're solving your dinner time dilemmas Jew style. Daphne's serving up an easy family favorite you can make in just minutes. And Clinton's cooking with the Food Lab's Kenji Lopez Alt. That's tomorrow here on The Jew.
Wait a minute. Is this a network called The Jew, or is this a show called The Jew Show?
Did you hear that first mention? We're going to do it Jew style?
Yeah, let's do it again. It's pretty good.
Tomorrow, we're solving your dinner time dilemmas Jew style.
Jew style.
Serving up an easy family favorite you can make in just minutes. And Clinton's cooking with the Food Lab's Kenji Lopez Alt. That's tomorrow here on The Jew.
No. Now I hear it now. It took me a second. It's the Chew, not the Jew.
First time it sounded like the Jew, though.
Hell yeah. And I think
that's because I pre-programmed you.
Yes.
To hear Jew when there was the Chew.
That's like Hillary saying we aren't going to raise taxes. When it's set up to you the video and you look at it, of course you hear that. Yeah. You fooled me. What's your point? Where are you taking this?
My point is that's what the media does constantly.
Yeah, it's very good.
And this is an example.
I'll give you 1 point for that.
I take the 1 point. 1 point of what?
It's a point.
Scale.
Just take the point, man. Just take it, baby. Take it. I wanted to start today off with just my favorite story because it's so difficult to cover. It's still the 1,000-year flood in Louisiana, and it's getting a little crazier now. So the people who are helping each other, who are in their own boats, going around saving people, picking them up, getting them out of their homes, are called the what are they called? The what do you call it? The Cajun Navy is what they're called. So it's all volunteer people just running around, and you'd think this would be encouraged. I mean, this is how America works: people helping each other indiscriminately.
This was, if you remember Katrina, they tried to do that then too, and the government rousted them.
And that's exactly what's happening once again.
It didn't matter if it was during the day or night. People with boats took it upon themselves to save strangers, hundreds upon hundreds of them, even when their own property was flooding. The Facebook community dubbed them the Cajun Navy.
And for the most part, these are people that are not going to wait for assistance. I mean, they're doers.
Dustin Cluett of St. Armand got his pleasure skiff and with others cleared out entire neighborhoods underwater.
At one time in my boat, I had a guy I dropped off at a Buddhist temple. I had a black guy and I had a Mexican guy. And when we dropped them all off, everybody hugged, high-fived, loved on each other, and sent them on their very way.
And now he and members of the Cajun Navy are speaking out against talk of government regulation. Republican State Senator Jonathan Perry of the Vermilion-Lafayette area is working on legislation that could require training, certificates, and a permit fee to allow these good Samaritans to get past law enforcement into devastated areas. He says some were turned away. He told a radio station, quote, they don't want the liability of someone going out to rescue someone and then not being able to find them. And secondly, there's a cost.
How can you regulate people helping people? That doesn't make sense to me.
This is very odd.
I love it.
And I have a follow-on from one of our producers, Dave Carey, who sent me this note. He says, I work with a young lady from Baton Rouge, and she's relaying to me the stories of the flooding and rescue efforts. Her relatives are telling the stories about there being little to no rescue effort from the government. People are stranded for days. When local boat owners, fishermen, shrimp boats, captains, and gator hunters offer to help, they're threatened with arrest by local law enforcement. The same law enforcement agents that are taking too long to rescue people. When her cousin and her family were finally rescued, they were picked up by an airboat, taken to another boat, then loaded on a bus and dropped off on the side of a highway far away from town. When someone stopped and offered them a ride, a passing police officer threatened to arrest those offering help. What is this, John?
They're trying to kill these people.
Why? Well, okay. Well, I guess we don't need to know why. And we need a permit fee now to rescue people? Come
Where do you get the permit?
I don't know, Department of Waterworks. I don't know. It's very strange.
So, well, this was a similar situation that took place in Katrina.
I don't remember this part of it, actually.
What?
I don't remember this part of Katrina.
Yeah, no, this was a major complaint, especially during the first few days of the flood when the levees broke, because there was a bunch of these guys. Because down in Louisiana, they have a lot of these shallow boats that can just pretty much go
a ton
over,
of them. Yeah,
over 1 inch thick water and 1 inch deep water.
It's airboats.
And they would just tell, no, you can't come in here. You can't do this. You can't do that. They wouldn't let anybody help each other. And I don't believe as a liability thing's got anything to do with it. I think that's nonsense. What are you going to sue the government because somebody helped you?
I don't know.
They did a crappy job. They did a lousy job. You fell in the water and drowned, or can't sue if you drowned.
There's no analysis to be found anywhere of this. I just can't. It's not there. So I don't know what to say. It's very strange. It just makes no sense. Of course, the video was from USA Today, so they're not going to delve into any depth, please.
USA Today.
Now, you think that's nutty? You think that's crazy? It would be prudent for me to give you a professional scientific analysis of the floods. I mean, there's only one guy you can turn to, really.
Oh.
Don't you think?
Not.
Yeah. It would be
actually,
so come on, champ.
Guys,
show us how tough you are.
What?
Hey, There's one or two guys I'm thinking, but you got the right one.
Bill Nye, the science guy.
We know
And he would know
what they're dealing with down there. We see it time and again. Reporters such as myself have stood in those waters and watched these people rebuild. Can anything be done?
Well, for us on my side of this is a result of climate change. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, right. Let's go right to it, Bill. It's the result of climate change. Of course, it can only get worse.
This is a result of climate change. It's only going to get worse.
Right. We hear this all the time. But isn't there, or not just about temperature, not just about erosion and water, but the basic structure of this place, how New Orleans, from the weight of development and how it's been built up, the levees is sinking. That when you're there, you stand on the ground.
It's not about New Orleans.
Well, let's do our analysis in a moment. Let's just listen to the idiocy first.
Up at ships going past you in the Mississippi.
So I don't have the answer to this, except it's going to get worse. Almost certainly will get worse. Everybody, as the ocean gets warmer, which it is,
Wait, he's about to lay down some science on you. Pay attention so you know how it works.
almost certainly will get worse. Everybody, as the ocean gets warmer, which it is getting, it expands. Water gets, the molecules spread apart. And then as the sea surface is warmer, more water evaporates. And so it's very reasonable that these storms are connected to these big effects. So what'll probably happen is people will move. They'll move away from these areas, and then what's going to happen to all that copper wiring and all that copper plumbing? Somebody's going to show up to salvage it, or is somebody going to show up to loot it? And will that lead to all sorts of criminal activity and all sorts of trouble that way? And where are these people going to go to get a job? And this is the developed world. I mean, this is the U.S., let alone places where you don't have all these resources.
Well, one of the things that we've been saying is because this wasn't catalyzed by a hurricane, right? The hurricane's the headline. Because that didn't happen this time, this has been getting coverage, but not the way it would have if this were a Cat 3 hurricane that hit the place.
No, of course, that's made for TV. The flood is not made for TV.
We'd all be there. How real and enduring is the risk to this place? Will it happen again?
Well, I believe it will happen again, but these individual storms are hard to predict, but you hit the nail on the head. This is not a big hurricane. This is a day at the office in Louisiana. And so as the ocean gets bigger and the sea surface gets warmer, you would expect more of these storms. And the idea that you can continue to build levees, the way people have done in Holland for centuries, is good for a while, but afterwards it's going to catch up with you.
Wait a minute. So he's trying to pull in the Dutch, who've been very successful with their delta works, which consists of dikes, not levees. And he's kind of contradicting himself. He's saying, well, you can go on like this, like the Dutch for centuries, but eventually, hello, people from Holland. Just so you know, eventually, we're all gonna die. Yeah. It actually fits in with your Jew clip there. This is so obvious. The cognitive dissonance or actually the confirmation bias of Bill Nye. Everything he sees is going to be made of climate change. Everything. Yeah. And it was indeed. And it's not New Orleans. Where's Chris Cuomo coming from?
Yeah, it's not even. Yeah, it's not New Orleans at all. New Orleans is fine.
Yeah, it is nuts. But just so you know,
the science is in.
Science. Exactly.
That's a good one. That's a good clip.
He's nuts, man.
Why do they keep giving him? He's got a good agent. He's got a
great agent. He's funny to look at. He is good television. Whether you like him or not, he's television. The stupid bow tie.
Bow tie. He's usually wearing a lab coat.
Yeah, he should.
I think he should come on the shows with the lab coat.
What was I watching? Tina and I were watching Difficult People. Have you seen this show?
No.
It's I think it's a Netflix or an Amazon original. And it's pretty much about two out of work stand-up comedians / comedy writers in New York, and they're just complaining about their bitter lives. And at a certain point, they connect with some guy, and he's like, "Well, hold on a second. What is this? Don't call me now."
Who are the two comics?
Oh, I can't remember their names. Look up Difficult People. But at a certain point, it's like, they do a show with, they're on a podcast, the Godless podcast. I think that's a real podcast. And, so they're really funny. These two comedians, they don't realize the whole premise of the show is they're really funny when they're bitching together, but all their jokes are dumb. So they're on this podcast. They go, "Oh, it's a great podcast. Hey, you want to come by and you should hang out. And, you guys should start your own podcast. There's a bar here that the podcasters hang out in." Now you've got to see this episode because they nailed it. Exactly. They had I've been to conferences and like that. They had it. They nailed it. It was a podcaster bar. You have to see this episode. The losers of the universe are in the podcast bar.
Are you? What's the episode name?
I'll find it for you. That I don't know. I'll put it in the show notes. It's very. We watched a couple of. Amazon has their pilot season. Here's what you don't want to watch. Kevin Bacon. Actually, this is how it started. So we're scrolling through the list of I have an Amazon Firebox thingy. And Tina says, what are you watching? So what do you mean? I Love Dick? So where do you see that? I'm like, oh crap, I didn't clear my browser history. There it is. I Love Dick. A new show by Kevin Bacon. Skip that one.
You're kidding. This is no.
No, this is true. This is exactly how it happened. It's exactly how it happened.
No, I'm talking about the show name. Kevin Bacon's doing a show called I Love Dick.
Yeah, his name is Dick in the show. Yeah, exactly.
Well, they must have had a funny meeting about it. Hey, I got an idea.
No, they didn't.
Get this one
no,
past
they
these
didn't.
guys.
No, they didn't have a funny meeting because it sucks. You can't get through 10 minutes. Amazon is being
the title on. They just want the title.
Yeah, Amazon is being raped. Raped, I tell you. Raped for money. And everyone's in these shows, John. Everyone in Hollywood's got a piece of it, and they're all getting paid top dollar. And of course, when you have, and this is why Hollywood is the way it is, and the entertainment industry, it's fierce and it's harsh because people say, no, this sucks balls, get it off. I don't care who you are. I may be connected to you in a couple degrees, Kevin Bacon, but no, you cannot. This is a bad show. The same goes for The Tick, which I was excited about. I'm like, oh, maybe this is a superhero with Tourette's. Now it's another piece of crap.
The Tick is super. Well, stop on that because The Tick was actually quite a good show when it was on, I believe, Fox about 15, 20 years ago. And it featured the guy who plays that deadpan comic. I can't think of his name offhand, but he's on a couple of sitcoms, and he played Putty in the Seinfeld show. That guy.
Well, that's not that guy. No, I don't know.
And it was quite a funny satirical show, and it had a lot of humor. So they tried to just reprise that old show. I'm sure they screwed it up.
I'm just going to say no. Do not watch it now. A show that is funny in a self-deprecating way is their third pilot, Jean-Claude Van Johnson, which is Jean-Claude.
Another genitalia reference.
Yes. And they're all about dick there at Amazon. They like the penis. So this is funny because in a self-deprecating way, Jean-Claude Van Damme is a washed-up, superhero television movie star. But of course, covertly, he also works for some agency, and so he finds out that no one cares about him. And he's it's very funny from a kind of like Jean-Claude Van Damme, Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, kind of too old for the role guys, and that's okay. But even that is like, oh man. And so I just want to say that Amazon is putting out subpar products. Because they have too much money. They don't have the system in place.
They got too much money. They got no system.
Yeah,
that's the thing. You get too much money. These Hollywood types will just rape is the right word.
Exactly.
Now the funny thing is, Woody Allen was hired by them too to do a TV series or something. That's going to blow.
Yeah.
But in the deal, somehow he managed. Because I watched his latest movie. I went to the theater. How about that? Right. With the kids to watch Cafe Society.
In the theater.
And at the end, when they rolled credits, it was an Amazon production. So Amazon is now doing his movies too. He's managed to double dip.
Fantastic. So smart.
That's what I was thinking. Wow.
So smart. Nice. But it's notable. just the amount of crap that they're making. And then, people, I don't know. It's sad. It's sad is what it is. Waste of money.
It's mostly crap.
Waste of money.
Every once in a while, there's something in there. Mimi had something she was watching. Some guys running a moving company. I don't know what it was about. I watched a couple episodes. It was kind of amusing for the first episode. The second episode, then it started falling off really fast because these guys there's no mechanism at the Amazon studios to maintain this. They can't maintain, which is the hardest part. I mean, anyone can write one good story, but write 15, 20, 30, 50? No, exactly. Not that easy.
On the other hand, Mr. Robot, which is a TNT production, is awesome. Really good. Oh my goodness, This is so good.
How are you up to speed?
Yeah, I'm up to speed. Yeah, I don't want no spoilers. No spoilers, but yeah, I'm up to speed. The
thing about the spoilers on that show, because my son was behind and we had to watch an episode so he could catch up, and he said the same thing when I discussed this with him. Everybody at work said this about the one episode where you get what? He says no one would tell him. It was like everyone was very contrite about not spoil. I think spoilers are bullcrap. I don't mind spoiling stuff.
All right, go ahead then.
I'm not going to spoil this because I feel the same way. It's too good.
Yeah, it really is. It needs to be seen, people. It needs to be seen. Okay. There's a lot of stuff going on. If you don't mind, I'll swing over to the Pentagon for a moment. Didn't they say that they were missing $6.5 trillion just in the past couple of weeks, and that kind of got snowed under by news?
It was something outrageous like that. Yeah, it was in the trillions.
Yeah, they have to.
Yes, it got snowed under. Why wasn't that a big scandal?
Oh, please.
Where are the hearings?
Because everyone's in on it. Everyone's on the take, particularly with the military-industrial complex. But this was very interesting. We've changed. Well, the spokeshole for the Pentagon, Peter Cook, in this case, and I have to give props to Barbara Starr. She actually, kind of hounded the guy for a bit there and got something out of him, which I think he should not have said. But the concept of a no-fly zone over Syria has been at issue for at least a year. And the reason why we have to date said, well, we're not going to do a no-fly zone is because you shoot down everything in the no-fly zone, including Russians. Or anyone else who strays into the no-fly zone. And so instead of saying we have a no-fly zone, the Pentagon has come up with a new way of putting it, and keep denying that it's a no-fly zone until Barbara Starr actually starts to hound the guy. So instead of a no-fly zone, it's a place where we've told people not to fly.
You said that there's not a no-fly zone, but you're instructing Syria not to fly there. So what's the difference between those two?
Again, our warning to the Syrians is the same that we've had for some time, that we're going to defend our forces. And they would be advised not to fly in areas where our forces have been operating. And that's what happened last week.
Are you saying that that's only when they're in action against ISIS? Maybe I just was missing it until now.
Barbara, our focus is against ISIL and the work that we've been doing in that part.
I also love how it just continuously, it doesn't matter how many times a journalist will say ISIS, they always come back with ISIL or Daesh. They never answer with the same acronym.
Barbara, our focus is against ISIL, and the work that we've been doing in that part of Syria and elsewhere is all focused against ISIL.
You're making clear that the Syrians should now, through the Russians, have a broad understanding of where U.S. forces are operating, and that they should not fly in the areas and where they are potentially going to be seen as threatening U.S. forces. So if you were telling them no fly in those areas, is there any way you can explain to us why that is not a no-fly zone?
You can label it what you want, Barbara. I'm explaining to you what we're doing with regard to defending.
You can label it what you want? Oh, okay, so it doesn't really matter. You can call it a no-fly zone if you want. It's just a no-fly zone, only we're not calling it a no-fly zone. Whew.
You can explain to us why that is not a no-fly zone.
You can label it what you want, Barbara. I'm explaining to you what we're doing with regard to defending our forces, coalition forces on the ground, our partnered operations there.
Is it a no-fly zone?
It remains the same warning that we've had in effect since we started our operations in Syria. We're going to defend our people on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
No, play the douchebag jingle.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. Douchebag. Now, from this...
Douchebag.
Yeah, it's total douche. But it's a no-fly zone. Done. From this came a link, and I don't know if I sent it to you. You must watch this. There's a new interview with Seymour Hersh. And then this...
always entertaining.
Oh, but he's really so on point, so good in this. And it's I think it's a Pakistani guy, Tariq something or other, who's interviewing. So it's sit down.
Poor Seymour Hersh he's been
ridiculed as insane.
Yeah, and not only that, but he can't even get one of the really...
Let's give a little background.
Seminal, if not one of the greatest journalists of our time.
Yeah, give a little background on him.
Seymour Hersh began his career by being the guy who busted out the My Lai massacre in the 60s in Vietnam. And he was doing original reporting that was just bringing out the atrocities. And in some funny way, at least at some levels, he probably helped end the war. And ever since then, he's been doing very deep investigative reporting based on having a lot of insiders in the Pentagon, the Army, Navy, the offices, the higher ups who'd feed him stuff. It's like a conduit. And then he'd write it up. He exaggerates when he does his public speaking, but his writing is fantastic. And he has busted one thing after another over the years. He's very much...
well, really, the pushback or the calling him crazy started with his account of how we killed Osama bin Laden. And in this interview, and I did not pull a clip from this, it would do it a huge disservice. Either that or we're going to have to listen to 10 minutes of clip, which we're not going to do. But everybody must watch this, mainly because we are so close, John, to his thesis and his reporting in our general understanding, right down to the bogus... the helicopter, we had to blow it up because it had stealth technology. That was total bullcrap to convince the Pakistanis that they had not turned off this $900 million radar system that we had installed for them so that they could have early warning on the Indians sending off a nuke in their direction. So, of course, they did turn it off for our helicopters to come in because they knew that bin Laden was there. But we couldn't, we couldn't say how we couldn't throw these guys under the bus entirely, the top guys who did this. So we said, oh, no, we slipped in because of our stealth technology. I mean, it was really fantastic stuff. And how the president just really lied about what had happened.
That's what he does best. He uncovers these lies. We do it through deconstruction, but he does it through reporting.
Yeah.
Some different approach. He's been marginalized during the Obama administration. He never was quite so much during the Bush administration, who was highly critical of. But the Obama administration, now he has to get published. If he's going to get published, he gets published in the London Review of Books.
Well, he says specifically, he says, my stuff will never get published ever again in the New York Times or any of the publications he worked for. And I think he worked for the Times for 8 or 9 years. He said, but I published in the LRB, London Review of Books. He said it doesn't matter where you publish; the information gets out there. I guess he is independently wealthy, or maybe LRB pays him well. I don't know.
No, he's a journalist. He's probably well-to-do.
So the second piece that he does is about Syria. And about the red line and why that really stopped, and about the chemical weapons. And of course, you and I have, and through our own deconstruction and some research, we know that it was not the Assad regime who threw sarin gas onto their own people, but it was in fact a rebel faction.
It was chlorine. It was chlorine, not sarin.
He said he maintains is a very weak precursor that they developed the sarin with. So I'm just telling you what he said.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So. And it's really, we are so close to his reporting, it's almost uncanny. And I did pull one little clip because it's short enough, still 2 minutes. It's short enough, and it talks about the relationship between Syria, the chemical weapons, the coalition, that would be us, the Saudis, and the Turks. And really, when you listen to his entire story about Syria, it is very clear that the Turks and the Saudis are really the bad actors in the region. and the Russians actually have been trying to help. But he packages it kind of nicely. He talks about Erdogan. He'll talk about how they came up with the lie about how many people were killed through this sarin gas or not, as there was tons of reporting from medical groups on the ground that it wasn't 1,400 people. It was a very small number of people, and we saw the same. We saw people in hospitals. This was the propaganda video, who were coughing and stuff. If it's real sarin gas, you're dead in minutes, seconds maybe. You're gone. You breathe that, or you get some on you, and you're dead. So I thought it would be fun to play this so you can hear. In a way, confirmation for what we're talking about, but coming from Seymour Hersh, I think is pretty good.
We do have the ability to spy communications. We have a team that's, I'm not telling the Turks something they don't know. There's actually formal MOUs, memorandum of understanding about this stuff. Turkey is a NATO ally, and Erdogan's completely lost it. He's completely crazy.
Yeah. How about that for confirmation?
He's getting crazier every day, and he's arresting the press and it's a madness. And they're killing. What they're doing to the PKK now, his gendarmerie, appalling.
Yeah,
appalling. And let's just face it, and we can't say that either.
No,
that he's gone completely off the.
You can't say that from the States. The Europeans can't say that because they're giving him money to take the refugees back,
and also because he's been supporting ISIS and supporting al-Nusra. The border's been open, Hatay province. We have communication intelligence, and so here's what happens. We don't know who did what. We know there's something wrong with the story, and we listen to things, and they were very quiet. You don't hear anything. The day after the raid, when the United States, here's how the United States went public with the word 1,400. We took, when the incident took place, there's iPhones, and there were iPhone photographs of people that seemed to be dead that we all assume were actually from that incident. And we know there's a lot of faking going on. But nonetheless, they took 6 or 7 of the pictures of groups of dead people, and they computed the area. And they computed how many people were in that area. And then they extrapolated how big the whole area was, and that's how they got to 1,400. The number was completely a made-up number. You had to walk into this stuff. It wasn't that toxic. You had to walk into it. If you were next to it, you felt sick and you recovered in a couple of weeks. You had lung trouble, but you could survive. You had to walk into it before you died, basically. And there were UN inspectors there. There was a team coming that arrived 2 days earlier to talk about the earlier events that took place. Anyway, so what happened is, after the event, when the world went nuts about 3 days later saying, oh my God, Bashar killed all of his own people, the communication system in Turkey, the military and intelligence people began going, hey, congratulations, fantastic, you guys did a great job. That's what we picked up. And that is very often. What you do in the NSA is you always listen after an event when you don't know what happened. And so from there you can construct a very plausible scenario, given the extreme amount from cabinet level to cabinet level of the military, that clearly at least they perceived that they had a role in the role. And so you had, exactly as you say, that it was a false flag operation.
Woo! See, this will not get you any respect, Mr. Hersh. Calling anything, just using the words false flag.
Yeah, you gotta be nuts.
You gotta be crazy. You must be a conspiracy theorist. But of course, with all these things combined, we're still throwing up a huge middle finger to Russia with a no-fly zone, blaming them for stuff. And then now
does he go into anything about the Russians?
Yes.
Do we have to go back to Stephen Cohen to get that material?
Oh, Cohen has much more in depth, and maybe Hersh has this. This was very specific about these two topics, but particularly Erdogan being completely nuts, completely having lost it. There's if you search online, even if you do a simple Google search, there's a lot of people saying, hey, isn't it time Turkey gets out of NATO?
Well, that would be funny.
Well, I don't know if it would be funny.
It'd be funny. Well, it depends on your sense of humor.
Yes. More just staying on Russia. I guess Russia's really being screwed once again.
Can I stop you right there?
Yeah, sure.
Snowden.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Give us Snowden and we'll stop screwing you.
Yeah. So 107 out of 280 Russian athletes who were allowed to participate in Rio.
But you can stop before you go on. This story, was I was thinking about this story, but this story is so pathetic.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's cruel. It's a cruel story that I skipped across. I'm glad you picked it up because this is how cruel we must actually be deep down inside that this happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So we disallowed a lot of athletes and apparently the Russians are quite good if you look at their medal count, but the Paralympics.
Yeah.
The Russians have been banned outright from participating.
The entire Russian team.
Whole GIMP team.
Yeah, they must be roided up, these guys.
The GIMPs are on drugs, man. I mean, this is, and when you think about it, if you think objectively, I mean, these are athletes, they're just missing limbs or other things, and they probably dope. I'm sure they do. But the optics of it are very, very pathetic. Very pathetic. And this doping, and it's like you have an aspirin, you're doping. It's gotten pretty nuts.
Yeah, this is pathetic. I thought that was the uncalled for.
So sad. Well, the Russians are retaliating.
This is again, let's screw over Russia until they give us
Snowden.
Well, you can track the whole thing back to that moment.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again.
That's a good point.
Of course, obviously, I'll say it again. I keep saying it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
They're
not going to do that.
No. What Russia is doing is they are cutting staff on the International Space Station.
Well,
that's
cutting one guy.
No, they're talking about cutting more.
Okay.
Okay. So they have 3 or 4 people.
They have 3 people,
right? But that is a problem. We need the Russians running that thing.
We have a bunch of people up there, and so do a couple of other countries.
We don't know how to run it. We don't know how to steer that thing.
Not besides run it, we can't get anyone up there, or we can't retrieve them without the Russians. The Russians are the only ones that have a space vehicle that can go up and grab these guys and take them back to Earth. I mean, they could jump for it, but I don't think that's going to be too successful.
Yeah, well, I just hope that we don't have the ham transmission stop from the International Space Station. It's still on my bucket list to talk to him.
Oh, yeah, you better get going.
Yeah, before it all ends. Okay.
That thing will be something to see coming into the atmosphere, though. First, it'll start coming in, then it'll start breaking up because the vibrations and the shaking as it hits the upper atmosphere and starts to catch on fire. And then it'll break into a bunch of pieces and come down in a spectacular show. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, perfect.
Could be any minute. There's the space, our space efforts all right there.
Yeah.
That and Elon.
Elon. Yeah, he'll take over all the rest. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see what we got.
Actually,
we might as well talk about the thing about the Clinton Foundation. And let's preface this by saying that, which made me think this guy was a satiricist who was bitching about it. The Clinton Foundation was a known problem years ago.
I do want you to know I have another package when you're ready.
Is this going to be about the Clinton Foundation?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm not in the military. Let's see. Well,
you can set me up. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut you loose, and then I'm gonna see if I can find ancillary or corroborating clips as you go along with, because since you did a package.
Okay.
So
all right,
take it.
Okay, so we'll start. So 2 things happened in the United States of Gitmo Nation regarding the campaign, and one of them is Hillary's health, which we'll talk about later, and that was the trap that I was expecting to be set up, and I think that's playing out very well. But what's very sad is really the distraction that is being created with this pay to play, because that really doesn't delve into what the Clinton Foundation is really about or not about, and how convoluted things are. And of course, my package has yet again some Charles Ortel clips.
Yeah, I want to stop you there for a second, because this stunned me too. Nobody brought Charles Ortel on. Nobody talked.
Everybody was on to talk about the Clinton Foundation except Charles Ortel.
Yeah, and all they wanted to talk about, you're right, this is exactly true. They didn't want to talk about the basic corruption of the Clinton Foundation, the way it's set up and it's never filed the right papers or done anything correctly. Or let's mention Haiti, what happened to all that money. Yeah. It never discusses any of this. It goes into the pay for play thing in just kind of an awkward way. And they never really, and this is all media. Nobody has, except maybe some obscurities, have gone into what we talk about, which is that the operation is bad.
Yes. It's beyond bad. And here is Anderson Pooper, who we'll start with. And he actually had Clinton on. She was on the phone with him.
Why was it okay for the Clinton Foundation to accept foreign donations when you were Secretary of State, but it wouldn't be okay if you were president?
Well, what we did when I was Secretary of State, as I said, went above and beyond anything that was required, anything that any charitable organization has to do. Now, obviously, if I am president, there will be some unique circumstances, and that's why the foundation has laid out additional unprecedented.
But didn't those unique circumstances exist when you were Secretary of State?
Elected.
Didn't those unique circumstances exist?
No. Look, Anderson, I know there's a lot of smoke and there's no fire.
That's the first time I've heard it used that way. Where there's smoke, there's fire. But according to Hillary, there's a lot of smoke, no fire.
Look, Anderson, I know there's a lot of smoke and there's no fire. This AP report, put it in context.
Yeah, and so this has to be said there. So it was Associated Press who sued the State Department. Had been doing this since 2010, trying to get her calendar, and they still didn't get, there's 2,000 days or appointments, I guess, they have not received yet. But from what they were able to receive, they said, well, look at this. There was more than half the people you met with had donated to the foundation. Like 78 people had gone on to, have some kind of position on a board.
85.
Thank you. 85. And so this is Associated Press. This is not just some fly-by-night guys.
And whenever the Clintons say this, well, this is no good. This is scant information. It's all they had to work with. They actually had probably the cherry-picked stuff to work with. If you had the full documentation, all the stuff that they really need to have, it would probably be really bad.
And mind you, this outfit, Judicial Watch, who I've been watching myself for a long time, they have also won several judgments as it pertains to Freedom of Information Act documents. That's where this most recent 15,000 emails came from, not from anything else. It was not a WikiLeaks dump. This is, this came in from Judicial Watch through legal means. But anyway, so what Hillary is now going to say is, well, they don't have all the information, so therefore it looks like I had a lot of meetings with people.
Put it in context. It excludes nearly 2,000 meetings I had with world leaders, plus countless other meetings.
Again, 2,000 meetings that there's still a lawsuit over that the State Department just won't give.
U.S. government officials, when I was Secretary of State, it looked at a small portion of my time, and it drew the conclusion and made the suggestion that my meetings with people like the late, great Elie Wiesel or Melinda Gates or the Nobel Prize winner Muhammad Yunus were somehow due to connections with the foundation instead of their status as highly respected global leaders. That is absurd. These are people I was proud to meet with, who any Secretary of State would have been proud to meet with, to hear about their work and their insight.
All right. So that's...
Hold on a second. She dropped the name she dropped. I'm trying to see if I can have the clip here to back this up. Exactly the same names used in an ABC report that was covering for her.
Oh, let's see if is it? Well, that's Hillary's Health ABC. That wouldn't be it.
It could be, but
ABC David Wright report kicker.
Yes, that's it. Play.
Oh, here we go.
Clinton's campaign is now defending those meetings she had with foundation donors while she was Secretary of State.
That's right, David. The list includes some notable philanthropists, including Melinda Gates, and also even some Nobel Peace Prize winners, among them the late Elie Wiesel.
David Wright on the campaign trail. David, thanks.
Oh, good work, David.
Bring in
lots of research there.
Bring in the dead Jew. It always helps.
That's the exact same two people.
Yeah.
She added a third.
Yeah.
That Hillary mentions.
Yeah.
So this is a talking point that he picked up.
Yes, of course.
It's very, very, very bad.
And in that Seymour Hersh interview, he also talks a lot about how the press operates today. This is required watching, peeps. Okay. Peeps. So as we move further, Andrea Mitchell, who is quite an apologist for the Clinton, she's an elitist. She runs in the same elitist circles, married to the Greenspan? Yeah. Greenspan, former Fed chair. And she brings up in her little pay-to-play bit here, the memorandum that was signed between the Clintons and the memorandum. But, well, let's listen to what Andrea Mitchell says first.
Look, there are lots of people who are either corporate or social friends of the Clintons and contributors to the foundation. And they have had meetings with Hillary Clinton, and they got access. They got access, many of them, because they were officials or they were had relationships with other think tanks or non-government NGOs, groups that do charities elsewhere, like the Gates family and others.
The Gates family. It's not the Rockefellers. The Gates family. It's Bill and Melinda, and we don't even know the kids' names. Until we know your kids' names, like the Clintons or the Bushes, you're not a family. Like the Gates family. He's
NGOs, groups that do charities elsewhere, like the Gates family and others. Muhammad Yunus.
Muhammad Yunus?
Wait, that's the other guy.
That's the other name. Who's Muhammad Yunus?
That's the one that Hillary's. Yeah. That was the third name she mentioned. It was just some do-gooder.
Oh, damn those do-gooders.
He's a guy who won a Nobel Prize or something, and he's being roused.
Isn't he the guy that invented Unix? Mohammed Yunus?
Yeah, that's it. That's who he is. He's the guy who invented Unix.
Sorry. Thanks, chat room.
Mohammed Yunus. This has been handled very sloppily, I think, and the firewall was not properly defined as well as it should have. There was a memorandum of understanding that was signed.
Stop. Does anybody listening to this show or anything else have even possibly believe that she knows what a firewall even is?
Well, no. She thinks it's no. No, of course she doesn't know.
She's just yakking. This is the horrible part about, if they'd have some people on there, like that guy that you're talking about, the guy who wrote the book on the Clinton Foundation. Yeah, somebody that actually knew something. No, they just have these blowhards.
Well, this is staff blowhard. Costs nothing extra. She just bring her on whenever you want. Yeah.
Just to sell ads.
Firewall.
I'm sorry.
Was not properly defined as well as it should have. There was a memorandum of understanding that was signed by both sides when Hillary Clinton was confirmed by the Foreign Relations Committee, by John Kerry and Dick Lugar, and people representing the White House, Valerie Jarrett.
Valerie Jarrett? What kind of signature authority does she have? She's an advisor to the president.
She actually said Valerie Jarrett.
Yes. She's an advisor to the president. She's not an official.
She can't sign off on anything.
It's all good. I'm Valerie Jarrett, VJ44. I'm the boss here. The real president signed it. That's what she's saying.
By John Kerry and Dick Lugar, and people representing the White House, Valerie Jarrett, and also the Clintons, Bruce Lindsay. So they all agreed to the terms. They probably were not as careful as they should have been. There is nothing here that anyone has been able to determine that was illegal. Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump notwithstanding. The State Department says that no rules were broken, no ethical rules were broken, no laws were broken. It was all above board, that these people would have had meetings with her in any case. So it is like a political campaign. Do senators and Congress members accept phone calls from people who are their contributors before they hear from the average person? Yes. That is the way business is done in Washington. It's something Bernie Sanders and others have been, campaigning against, and it's not illegal.
Hold on. It's almost over.
The old way of doing business, and it's not something that voters like, and it could hurt her at the polls.
Okay.
Well, it should hurt her at the polls because it's totally corrupt. Let's stop there where she said, because I have a corroborating clip.
This is a super package, man. This is great.
It's a super package.
You need to do
super package on Sunday.
All right, everybody, get ready to roll out. We're going super package on this baby.
All right. So this is a very interesting piece of kind of. This is a feint. This is like or it's like a move where the punch is coming at you, block it, and you push it to the side, and it looks like you got hit, but you didn't. Chris Matthews that pulls the same stunt, and I want to play the clip first, and I'll talk about it afterwards because there's really not much to discuss. But let's just play Chris Matthews because this is what when I said to stop this other clip is just because she said something similar to this.
Oh, the private sector meetings. Right, it's the private sector meetings, but even private sector, the Clinton campaign is saying that this is cherry picking. That's up to them to say that.
What does that mean, cherry picking?
But here's what the whole narrative means, Chris, including what's come out today from AP, including what came out from Judicial Watch, which is that this is not classic pay to play, but what it is it's classic evidence of influence buying and the type of influence buying and access that everyone at this table knows goes on all over Washington. In this case, it has an extra layer of being problematic because it's involving foreign governments and not just your classic millionaires and billionaires.
Okay, we're going to go through these cases, guys. What your first reaction for you, Stephanie, but I'm going to go there because I think the cases, I agree about the access. It reminds me of how you get a meeting. If you give to a Senate campaign, either party, male or female, whatever, if you pay to or contribute to a campaign, you will get an appointment with that person once they're elected. That's the way it works.
Okay. Yeah, it's the same talking points.
Same talking point, and everybody at this table, including Michael Steele, the old Republican guy, they all they're all nodding their heads and bouncing around. Yeah, that's right. That's not even close. This is a false equivalency. And this is not giving to a campaign which is accounted for and subject to the rules of campaign finance. This is not giving a lot of money to a campaign and then getting to call the Hillary up or the president, whoever it is, because a campaign is not a third-party charity run by your husband, which can just siphon off as much money and do the books any way they want without having anything to do with a campaign. This is bull crap. And this is a blatant lie.
And what is also being ignored by the mainstream press is the actual emails, a lot of them from that involve Uma Abedin, that say, okay, we'll give him a priority. Yeah, we're going to get him in. Yeah, we have HR's already personnel's looking at him and all this. They never bring that up. Now, everyone's talking about the memorandum. Charles Ortel tells us that there were actually two memoranda. Or is it memorandums?
Memorandum dummies.
There were two, interestingly enough, which exonerates them from any legal wrongdoing.
Actually, Hillary often taking credit, most recently claiming that the Clinton Foundation has helped 9 million people fighting HIV/AIDS around the world, and that's a statistic that PolitiFact and Anderson Cooper have both backed up, even though it is certainly not the case. It's way off. It's a mystery to me, particularly looking at the time frame as she became Secretary of State when she was supposedly first nominated. The record suggests that a memorandum of understanding was entered into between the transition team and and the foundation concerning how the foundation might operate while Hillary was Secretary of State. There are two versions of that memorandum of understanding. There's the one that John Kerry produced that's in December of 2008, and there's an earlier one that was just released a number of years ago and found by Judicial Watch that suggests this agreement was entered into on November 16th, 2008. Well, November 16th, 2008 happens to be just about exactly the time that the annual report for the Clinton Foundation in 2007 was being put together. And you can look at that report by going into the New York State Charity Bureau website. And when you look at it in the correspondence file, you will see that the Clinton Foundation HIV/AIDS piece was a disaster for two reasons. The first, magically in that year, the revenues of that entity were the largest piece of the whole foundation, exactly equal to the dollar, the expenses. Kind of hard to do that in that year, 2007, where currencies were in turmoil and where, in theory, they were operating all over the world. And their assets on the balance sheet exactly equaled their liabilities. Again, impossible. When you take away that big piece of the whole foundation, what's left was hemorrhaging money. Its revenues were smaller than its expenses. And in addition to which, this HIV/AIDS piece in 2007, on March 31st, 2008, had its license yanked by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts with effect from December 31st, 2007. So a real accounting firm doing its work would start by asking the existential question, is this a charity? Without an operating authority from the state of Massachusetts where your headquarters is lodged, for this entity, you're not a charity. And if you're not a charity, that means you're in big trouble. And so to write, they would have certainly known this by November 16th, 2008. So why was the Clinton team telling a whole bunch of bunk to President Obama and his team about the state of the foundation on November 16th, 2008? I mean, what the representations in the Memorandum of Understanding are all false by the Clinton Foundation. It was not a corporation in good standing, as charity in good standing in every jurisdiction where it operated. It was not. It was an extremist. And yet they made these representations, signed the Memorandum of Understanding, construct the legal agreement on a basis where it's not really a binding legal agreement. And it doesn't bind Bill Clinton. It doesn't bind Chelsea Clinton. It doesn't bind Hillary personally. And none of the Clinton family at that point were trustees or officers of the Clinton Foundation. So from a legal standpoint, it's a ruse.
It's a ruse. Charles Ortel was also the guy who uncovered the massive valuation fraud of General Motors, I believe it was. This is a couple of years ago, maybe more than that, maybe 8 years ago. They'd overvalued the company by hundreds of billions of dollars, and he was the one that broke. So he has standing in investigative reporting. Okay,
so he's a financial reporting guy, yeah.
So now I'm going to pop out of Ortel for one moment, because the main thing that has now started cropping up about the Clinton Foundation, as we know, Bill has said, well, if Hillary becomes president, then I won't do anything with the foundation. But now you see even AP saying, it should be shuttered. It should be shut down.
Yeah, it should be shut down.
But this cannot be.
As president, she says they're not going to accept foreign donations. Why was it okay for her as Secretary of State to have the foundation?
Let me see. The Clintons never.
This is James Carville.
Took a nickel out of the
an
foundation.
apologist and well-known and a flasher.
Yeah, he's a flasher.
Well, he would be if you believe that book that was written called Red, White, and Blue, whatever it was. It was about the Clinton campaign, the first Clinton campaign.
Yeah.
And they had this one guy, and it was in the movie. I can't remember the name of this thing. Somebody in the chat room might remember it, where this one guy was just a flasher. and he was always in the campaign offices, and then boom, he'd drop in his pants. Yeah. And it implied that it was Carvel, and if you look at him, that stupid look,
he looks like a flasher.
He looks like a flasher,
or as the Dutch would say, potloodventer, which means a pencil salesman. I know.
Yeah, I never heard that.
The Dutch are great. The Dutch are full of stuff like that.
He looks like a pencil salesman.
To accept foreign donations. Why was it okay for her as Secretary of State to have the foundation?
Let me see. The Clintons never took a nickel out of the foundation.
They never took a nickel out of the foundation. Okay.
In fact, they gave $1 million. There was not a penny. The second thing is, I'm sorry, but the foundation negotiated drug prices to reduce malaria drugs by 80-90%. I don't know how many people that they've been. It is under Charity Watch a 5-star rated charity. You can't get
this is I don't know what Charity Watch is, but the Charity Navigator, which is I think is seen as the gold standard, won't even put them on the list. So I don't know where he comes up with Charity Watch that they have a 5-star rating, but the Charity Navigator, no, they do not.
Watch a 5-star rated charity. You can't get a higher rating for a charity. So the Clinton Foundation was taking no money for the Clintons, raising money from rich people, and giving it to poor people. And all of a sudden, the press has decided that we're going to go after this and shut it down. And you know what? You're probably going to be successful. And they're going to be people that are going to die.
We're all going to die
because of this. And everything that I've been associated with Bill Clinton with, the three things I am most proud of. First, he stopped the genocide in Bosnia.
By killing people.
Second, the Human Genome Project, of which my kids and grandchildren will forever thank him for.
Well, what did he have to do with it?
I don't know. I guess he decoded the human genome.
And third is the Clinton Foundation.
Right. Okay, so this...
hold on a second. Again, I have been listening to a lot of these things, too, and this people are going to die is a meme.
Yes, this is a meme. People will die. They will die of AIDS because they don't have cheap AIDS drugs. And this is my package. because I'm familiar with the story, although I had forgotten quite a bit about the free HIV/AIDS drugs, which in fact I have. Let me see. I think I have a thing from Pooper on this as well, which is pretty funny. Well, we'll play that later. Now we're going to get into what this Clinton HIV, because it's different from the Clinton Global Initiative, different from the Clinton Foundation, different from the Clinton Foundation. There's so many foundations. There's so many different pieces to this. Here is Clinton HIV Inc. is really the way it would be described.
Where in the Clinton Foundation forms is there any proof that the foundation exercised tight control over these funds and actually bought drugs? There's no line item for drugs in 2002, 2003, 2004, and nothing in 2005. And indeed, there's the annual return for this new thing I mentioned formed in Arkansas is missing for 2005. There is no such form. And the first time you see any mention of pharmaceuticals is 2006. And you add up the amounts that are in the foundation forms for 6, 7, 8, 9, it's $215 million is spent. Divide that by the annual cost of AIDS treatment, and you're talking about 1 million people being helped for 1 year. That's it. So what happened to all this other money, and how do you square these claims of Clinton's with what appears to be underlying reality? I don't think you can.
Okay. So there's the guy who's looked at the information and says, I really can't find any evidence of this. Maybe 1 million people for 1 year, but what exactly were these drugs? I remember the story when I heard him telling. It was like, but it's so beautiful the way he can explain it.
The biggest producer is a company called Ranbaxy.
He's talking about generic drugs, and this is an Indian generic drug company that the Clintons dealt with exclusively.
And just precisely in this time frame that Bill was putting this thing together, around August of 2004, an internal investigation at Ranbaxy concluded that they did not know the status of any drugs produced prior to that time. They didn't have the ability to test them. Yet they had been distributing these drugs, and Bill had been promoting them. Bill visited the factory in November of 2003, the press release, picture of them and everything. And the Clinton Foundation entered into an agreement, according to the Ranbaxy annual report for that period, in October of 2003, wherein it was said that Ranbaxy would help, quote, millions of HIV/AIDS patients. Well, how do you sign an agreement with an Indian company and not know that it can't even test the drugs you're buying? We know all this because Ranbaxy had to pay a $500 million fine in May of 2013 to the FDA and others.
This is corroborated by a Fortune piece from 2013 called Dirty Medicine. And it's a very long article. And the author talked to many people involved. And so Clinton, and how they did it, I'll explain in a moment. They purchased these generic drugs at low cost from this Indian generic company, and they even made Bill the honorary chairman. The problem was, if you look into depth about this Ranbaxy, they had not tested any of their drugs, none of them. They had no means to test them. In fact, a lot of their tests that they did submit were carbon copies of other drugs mixed up, different reports put together. And not only were these drugs possibly not effective at all, they might have actually killed people. And if you read this Fortune magazine article, Thakur, that's the guy who we're talking about. Now, he actually tried to become a whistleblower in this. He said, this is what's going on. I'm going to read this passage from this Fortune article. Ranbaxy executives did not care that their drugs may not be effective, and made little effort to conceal it. In a conference call with a dozen company executives, one brushed aside her fears about the quality of the AIDS medicine Ranbaxy was supplying for Africa. Who cares? He said, according to Spreen. It's just blacks dying. This is a famous quote that of course, has long been forgotten. And now Ortel's take on this.
The IRS normally looks at a charity. What they ask, and they get suspicious, they'll say, all right, let's measure the amount of money that is spent in the core activity of a charity, which is called program service expenses. Let's look at those amounts And then let's look at any gains, private gains that may have been created through the operation of the charities.
And this is exactly how the IRS looks at nonprofits. This is the way it works. It's very normal.
So if you look at the Clinton Foundation in those amounts where there is information through 2009, you're talking about program service expenses. Let's be charitable to them and say it's $400 million from 2006 to 2009. And it wasn't that high, but let's just say that's the number. The gain that Ranbaxy got was over $2 billion. And the IRS would look at that normally and say, now, this sure looks to me as if the charity was used as sort of a good housekeeping seal of approval, and that Bill Clinton's contacts with Hillary Clinton's contacts in the Obama administration were used to grease the way for these Indian generic companies to tap into the PEPFAR and other government aid streams. And that this was a business development exercise. It was not a charity.
Exactly. Business development. Now that makes a lot more sense. Just being used as a business development opportunity. Now, the piece that I didn't put in here because Ortel is very long when he explains it. The way this was paid for was a project called UNITAID. And there were several countries, most prominent France. And the French levied a special tax on airline tickets. And that money was then sent to the Clinton HIV/AIDS Foundation, and that's what they used to purchase these generic drugs with to distribute into Africa. The problem is the amount. Actually, the Clintons ran it. They ran UNITAID. The French said, "Okay, go ahead, you guys take it." And it was like Poland, Finland, a whole bunch of other countries participated in this. So really, a levy, a tax on the people, and you see how much money was raised through this and how much money actually was spent. Again, we're missing several $100 million, and it's almost unfathomable that they let the Clintons run this business on behalf of other, of European citizens. Now, the Ranbaxy guys have an interesting tie into somebody we know, ancillary. I mean, I've brushed by him once. We were trying to raise money at his venture capital fund in Silicon Valley. Remember the Raj, the guy who got canned for insider trading, the Indian guy, part of the Indian cabal?
Yes.
He shows up in the story, too.
The people around this project included a man called Rajat Gupta, who at one point was, one of the demigods on Earth as the first Indian ever to lead the famed consulting firm McKinsey. He had then gotten involved in numerous ventures, philanthropic ventures, equity ventures, etc. And finally, it was revealed that around 2008, Mr. Gupta was a simple fraudster. He was trading on inside information, abusing his positions of authority and trust at Goldman Sachs and elsewhere. And he subsequently spent time in prison. Who was he doing that with? He was doing that with a man called Raj Ratnam. That man is a Sri Lankan fellow who's still in prison for insider trading. And Mr. Rajaratnam had a fund called Galleon that actually specialized in this area. Is it possible that the SEC has not yet found, and that Indian authorities have not yet found, that this group may have traded on inside information in India?
I love the web is so vast, John. It's so vast. Fantastic. Wrapping it up here, mainly because I thought he just had a great moniker for the Clintons. It's right at the beginning of this short clip.
I was talking to somebody. It's almost as if they're merchants around misery. Where there's misery, they know that there are donors around the world who will send money to sort of arrest the misery, or at least to lessen the misery. They know there's going to be incoming money. They know, and through experience, that there are no real controls here. And so whether it's Bill and Hillary personally or evil cronies around them or all the above, somebody around this looks at this and says, this is great. We can claim that we're helping, but, no one's going to check. And look at all the money that might, find its way into different pockets. And we, the American people, myself included, I fell for this. When I first heard about this way back years ago, that when Bill and George H.W. Bush were, in theory, helping the afflicted people in the tsunami that happened late in 2004, early in 2005, I thought to myself, wow, that's really something. Here's two families that don't really get along, putting aside their partisan political differences and really doing some good work. Well, then you try to look at the financial statements for that tsunami fund. Something like 12 to 14 billion were raised for that, and you can't find 12 to 14 billion in any financial statement.
We hadn't even figured out the tsunami thing. That's new.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty... You have to give Bill credit for being he was always a sharp operator.
Yeah.
He set up some crazy bank in Arkansas that was one of these deals where, the money could just easily disappear. And the Mina thing.
Mina, Arkansas, yeah.
And then he also has, this assassination list. And, the guy is astonishing.
If you read put a couple articles, I just searched a few, but Dirty Medicine is really the one you want to read, but there's a couple others in the show notes at 854.noagendanotes.com. This HIV Foundation, really, there is no evidence it has done any good, and the quality of these drugs has been questioned from day one. And also, this was all in very remote areas, according to Ortel. You can't just say, here's your HIV drug, see you later, y'all. No, that's not how it works. You have to, consistent monitoring. People have to be, when you have antiretrovirals, you have other side effects crop up. None of that seems to be on the books anywhere. And that's really, it's so low. Just if the generic story by itself, untested generics. For not just the HIV stuff, but all the stuff that Rambaxi sent over. None of it was tested.
Elect her president.
Yes. Now it seems, wow, my voice just went up. It seems that Huma Abedin is now coming under fire. Still one of the most fascinating people in American politics today, to me.
I think that somebody or some strategists have seen her as a weak link.
And she is a weak link.
Yeah,
she's replying on Hillary Clinton's email for Hillary Clinton, so she had access. So therefore, I guess she had access to classified material. I don't know if she has that kind of clearance. But even in these in the Judicial Watch emails, the new 15,000, it's Huma who is replying. Yeah, we'll take care of that guy. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Here's a little background.
While he's not a household name, Dennis Chang has worn many hats for Bill and Hillary Clinton. From fundraising at the Clinton Foundation, where, according to published reports, he built a donor base of more than $250 million, to serving as Secretary Clinton's deputy chief of protocol at the State Department, where he greeted heads of state, to now serving as finance director for Clinton's presidential campaign. More than 300 new emails released by the group Citizens United suggest Chang, shown here greeting then...
I think that's a mistake. I don't think it's Citizens United. I think it's Judicial Watch. I don't know why they said Citizens United. That sounded wrong to me. I'm not sure what's going on with that.
So go back it up and play it again.
Yeah, well, they said Citizens United, which...
Presidential campaign. More than 300 new emails released by the group Citizens United.
Now, this is 300 emails I don't know about. There's a lot of emails. Okay, maybe it is Citizens United.
Suggests Chang, shown here greeting then British Prime Minister Tony Blair, worked directly with another longtime Clinton aide and fixer, Huma Abedin, to seamlessly share information with Secretary Clinton about the foundation's fundraising events, objectives, and major donors. In one example, Chang sent this 9-page email to prepare Secretary Clinton for a briefing on the 67 VIPs attending a foundation dinner. The guests range from major real estate and business executives to former politicians and aid organizations. Fox News asked the Government Accountability Group FACT to review the emails and Dennis Chang's role.
He could be best described as the bag man. He's the one that raised the money and also kept the donors happy. And so you would expect, and I've always expected, that Mr. Chang would be right in the middle of some of these transactions that were going on between the Clinton Foundation and their donors and those that wanted access to the State Department and Secretary Clinton.
Other documents seem to reinforce these allegations. In this 2012 email, Chang tells Abedin he's traveling with Clinton donors to Little Rock on a private jet and offers her a ride, and it appears she does accept. In another exchange, a Bill Clinton aide went to Abedin on behalf of U2's frontman and philanthropist Bono, who wanted to do a link-up with the International Space Station for his concerts. The State Department spokesman told reporters no rules were broken.
There was no impropriety. There was nothing precluding State Department officials from having contact with, in this respect, with Clinton Foundation staff.
In another episode, a senior Clinton Foundation executive went to Abedin to facilitate a U.S. visa for a British soccer player who faced criminal charges. In this case, Abedin hesitated to get involved, but said she would inquire, Brett.
So, yes, a weak link indeed, it appears. Ms. Abedin has not been as judicious or as careful, I believe, as she should have been. And so this did come up at the State Department briefing, mainly her background. Now, for those of you who have forgotten, she's still married to Anthony Weiner. And my theory certainly has been that he is just the beard. And that she is romantically involved with Hillary. This is not, not just an off-the-cuff theory. This is, a lot of people have talked about this, which is fine. But she's been with Hillary Clinton for 10 years now, I think, and we know how excited she was. We played that when she was on that podcast with those girls. How excited she was when she met Hillary for the first time, and fabulous! But of course,
her background goes back largely to the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yes, actually, her mother is part of the Sisterhood of it's not the Muslim Sisterhood, but it's something like the Sisterhood of the Muslim Secret Handshake, something like that.
She was also, I guess, associate publisher or associate editor of
that's what this
magazine
is about.
for almost 10 years.
That's what came up in the State Department, and this magazine, I forget the name. Could probably during the clip we'll search what the name is, but she has been on the masthead for 10 years, and there's a lot of radical stuff in this magazine.
The New York Post has been.
Yeah, so here's this question comes up at the State Department.
The New York Post has been reporting on the presence of Huma Abedin for more than a decade on the masthead of an Islamic journal that published some fairly vile things, including blaming the U.S. for 9/11, and an article by Ms. Abedin's mother in which she wrote that the, quote, empowerment of women does more harm than benefit, unquote. When Ms. Abedin was cleared to work here in the Department of State, one of the 2 jobs she held down during her tenure here, was Ms. Abedin's association with this journal known to the secretary or to anyone else in this building?
James, I don't have an immediate answer for you on that. I haven't seen these reports, to be honest. What I would say is that we wouldn't normally talk about someone's clearance process, except to say that having gone through security clearance process and considering the level of clearance she would have needed for the job that she held, I can assure you that she was, like any individual would be, fully vetted. But I can't speak to these specific allegations. I just don't.
Why bother? Can't speak. Why bother? Can't speak to that.
I don't think she was fully vetted.
No. Well, maybe
Hillary
she was.
Just said, "Come on, let her in," and that was that.
Now, I want to get to the health stuff, but I think we should take a little break first, since we're already running long today.
Yeah, well, these things come and go.
And with that, I'd like to say thank you for your courage in the morning to you, John C. Why the C stands for Cuckoo Kachoo Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning to all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
Yes, and in the morning to everyone in the chat room, noagendastream.com. Good to have y'all on board today. Thank you for hanging in there. And thank you to Jay Young, artist for episode 853, ISO Day. Was the title of that episode. Now, this was very nice. It was SEAL Team 33 in a No Agenda Team 33, really, in a rendering. It was beautiful piece. It was really nice. Made us laugh. There was something else that made us laugh harder, but we didn't choose to use it. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, I think it was lewd, or there was some reason.
Yeah. I don't remember what it was.
So here's this. So we have actually, and I've decided on this, that we're going to give Sir Nick of the. We didn't get a lot of donations this last show, or from the last show. We got one executive producer, which is really from July. And then we have 3 associate executives. And so I feel kind of bad about I threw the one in from July because it's the one that's been going around discussing. It's from Sir Chris Bach of the No Agenda Brewers Guild. It's the missing $333.33 with the beer that you were telling me I should be getting any minute. So I go to the post office and I just pick up the mail as usual. And then I just stop myself and say, is there anything back there for me? And the woman says, did you get one of the notes? I said, no. She says, oh, but there's probably nothing back there. She goes back. She gets 2 things for me. Curiously, I was still hoping to get something else, but it never showed up. But so the one was from July.
Your real doll hadn't shown up yet?
The real doll is going to be delivered to the house.
Okay.
It was the little box of beer with the check for $333 from Chris, and the other one was my Make No Agenda Great Again podcast cap.
Oh, nice, perfect.
So that came in, and that was from Tony at noagendashop.com.
Mm-hmm.
And so that the cap is extremely cute.
Yes.
But I did get a note from Sir Chris Box, so I'm putting him on this list. But I'm also going to give I think, or you can disagree if you think so, but Sir Nick of the South Side, who would be the executive producer, being the highest with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I'm good with it. Of course, we'll make him exec.
So
of course.
Trackpod and Buzzkill is getting ready to send off some goodies to you two when I turned on the TV and saw the tragedy in Baton Rouge, so I knew it was a show day. You even predicted that Baton Rouge was going to have issues, and the previous show thing that already had happened, yikes, it just gets worse. Anyway, I hope we make it through all this turmoil. We need more citizens to listen to the best podcast in the universe and have their eyes open to the fantasy of the mainstream media. I'm including an executive producer contribution, putting me one more away from barony. Thank you for keeping us sane in this insane world. We've made it through the last cycle like this, 1968 dash. And I know from John's cycle book. Oh, wait. I hope this beer will help when things get too tense, which they may be starting this week with the Republican convention. This came in before the convention, obviously.
That's long ago.
Can you give us all some karma? I think we need it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
You've got karma.
Chris of the No Agenda Brewers Guild.
And he did a spatchcock chicken.
Nice.
So that was that. So I'm going to have to send a note to Chris, ask him about if he didn't cancel this check. Oh, and if he wants to reissue one or whatever he wants to do.
All right.
So he can send me a note if he hears this, which he might. Sir Nick of the South Side, 23456 from Herndon, Virginia. Gentlemen, I'd like to ask, first of all, for a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
There you go.
I've been enjoying the recent shows immensely and have been too lazy to send a donation. I understand that this is not how the value for value model works, so I would like to make amends. I'd like to hear a no conflict.
Yeah.
A Putin scream.
Yeah.
And karma for the show producers and hosts. Thanks for the outstanding work and sanity.
Sir Nick of the South Side. All right.
There's no real conflict.
Putin! You've got karma.
Right. And Sir Nick will also be an executive producer today.
Yeah, we're going to elevate him.
Beautiful.
And that'll balance the show because we got two other guys, including Sir Luke of London and in the great city of London, UK. This is my first donation and it's $204 for Sir Luke. This is my first donation since the Brexit vote. Ouch. The pound clearly isn't worth what it used to be. I became a knight on August 2014, a baronet on August 2015, and sticking with the trend, August 2016 sees me reach baron.
Woo!
Make a mention of that.
That's not on the...
make a mention. He's baron now. He's baron.
Sir Luke of London is a baron.
I'm pretty sure there is no other barons in England.
No real ones, that's for sure.
No real ones, that's for sure. Seeing as I'm already Sir Luke of London, I'd like to become the Baron of London and all that lies within the M25. My favorite jingle is now... Is now entering the second half of show. What?
That's very funny if you've lived in London for him to say that. Yeah.
Now entering the second half of the show. Could you please play it at some point?
Okay, hold on.
Attention all human resources. Now entering second half of show.
By the way, before we continue with Sir Luke of London, the Baron of London's note, you sent me a link to a David Icke video, one of his more recent ones, which I watched with Tina the Keeper.
She must have got the biggest kick out of that guy.
It was really wonderful to watch.
Why?
Because she gets it. She's like, oh, that makes sense. She was also shocked, horrified. Not horrified, but I looked at it. Her mouth was agape from time to time, and I have to say, so David Icke, whose theory is that we're pretty much all run by reptilian DNA and the Greys, and the moon is hollow, which I like that a lot. The moon, and he has NASA scientists, saying, crap, that thing, we hit that with a nuke and it gonged for 30 minutes. It's like it's hollow. And, the theory is that was the spaceship that contained the aliens who, are controlling us through the bloodlines. That's quite a...
Well,
I'm
really one, which is, if anyone wants to look it up, you might want to put it in the show notes.
Yeah, of course, I have it in the show notes. Are you kidding me? Yeah, it's great.
It's extremely entertaining. But David Icke, over the years, used to make these presentations mostly about the elites, and he would always, at the end of the presentation, drop the bomb that the lizard people are running the place, and the Queen of England is a reptile, which accounts for a lot of things, I suppose. And but this one I got the biggest kick out of this one because this is at least the first time I know of. He's probably done it before, but because he's on a world tour right now. He's going to come to the Bay Area, actually.
Oh, nice.
And he is on a world tour giving this speech. And this speech, he starts with the lizards. He doesn't end with the lizards. So
and a little historical background on David Icke. It was in the 80s. Now, he was a soccer player, professional soccer player. Then, very traditional career move. He became a sports announcer, commentator for the BBC. And then one night he went on the Terry Wogan show. Terry Wogan passed away just 2 or 3 years ago. It was like being on Johnny Carson. Of course, the BBC is like, there weren't even commercial networks at the time. So it was really the BBC. And he goes on there and he says, well, I have, done a lot of research and I've come to the conclusion that, the world is being run by reptiles. And it ruined him for a public television career. And he still is the laughing stock. Everyone said, David, like, bah, reptiles. My friend Michelle, who I visited in south of France, he's always laughing. Hey, Curry, how are you and your reptile friends? And of course, I sent him this link. So you got to watch this, please. Hurt yourself, but sit through it. But now he's. I mean, this guy sells out Wembley Stadium for 4 or 5 nights. It's really incredible. But anyway, to watch Tina,
he's making a lot more money than he ever would have made.
Yeah, and just to watch Tina go through, and she's all in. I'm like, God, I love that woman so much. She's perfect for me.
All in.
Yeah, well, I mean, all in, but she
probably is. I mean, it's a very good speech. It's one of his best. And I think he misses, he's got a few things. He's got these, he uses that movie that we like to promote.
Yes, they live with you put on the glasses and you see the obey signs and shut up, slave, and be obedient. Yeah, another great film.
It's extremely entertaining
with Roddy Piper, starring Roddy Piper. I mean,
yeah, and he was actually could have probably made a better career than he did, and then he died. So because
that film resulted in
You will obey. You will obey. You will obey.
That was all over the film. You will obey. You will obey. You will obey.
Anyway, it is a very funny thing.
Yes, so it's in the show notes. You have to watch it.
She's at least got a kick out.
And I just love the fact that John C. Dvorak, the 2016 version of John C. Dvorak, is not only sending this stuff to me, but watching it himself.
How can you not watch it? The guy is great.
I'm all in on the Hollow Moon.
I've every once in a while I have done on Twitter. I have done I don't do it that often, but I do follow Ike, and this is interesting because he's got a lot of political stuff he puts in there with besides the lizards.
Yeah,
and I'll put a retweet. Here they come out of the woodwork. Oh, David Icke, whoa, you've lost all credibility, Dvorak.
Yeah.
So what I tend to do, because most of the time Ike tweets, it's from something else, like the London Times.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just bypass Ike and retweet the London Times thing, and it's the same thing.
Yeah, much better. Then you don't lose credibility, Dvorak.
Credibility. All your credibility is washed up.
Yeah.
Anyway, onward.
Yep.
And this is still Sir Luke. I'd like karma for my upcoming bike event this Sunday, and some friends to Lovers Karma would be great as well. Keep up the great work and looking forward to No Agenda London meetup sometime in the future. Yes.
Outstanding. Here's your karma.
You've got karma.
You need a lozenge.
Yeah, I do. Every time we want that voice. Finally, Curtis Sarles in Bay City, Michigan. $200. Keep up the great work.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he says. So give him some karma.
I'll give him some karma then. Perfect. Of course.
You've got karma.
Outstanding. All right. Well, not so outstanding, but we'll take what we can get. Yeah, that's it. These, of course, are real credits. So we have 2 executive producers today, and these credits can be used anywhere credits are accepted or people use them. So that can be any type of guild for professional producers. Some people actually used their credits to get into the Producers Guild of America, but putting on your LinkedIn seems to help. And also, just knowing that you have helped produce a professional entertainment product, it's something you can be proud of. And of course, we'll have another show on Sunday. Please remember us.
Dvorak.org/NA.
And we'll be thanking everybody else. $50 or over coming up. In the meantime, please think about the formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Hey, citizen.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
Alrighty. Nice. So I predicted that this health thing would be a Donald Trump trap, and I think my prediction is coming true.
The trap hard.
The trap is I'll release my tax my tax return, but we both should submit to a proper health scan, or at least have some real documentation on both sides. Now, Trump is really full of this, and he was in Tampa. I have to play this because this is a typical. You got to admire the guy for messing up the teleprompter, and he's getting better at it. He's now using he's getting real comfortable. He's using his demeanor, the stuff the crowds love, but still reading the teleprompters. This is
before you play that. My problem with him when he reads the prompter is he starts to scream.
Yeah, he does. Well, in fact, it's almost like an edit sometimes. He'll just go back, Hillary Clinton. Yeah, it's problematic. Do you have a clip you want me to play? Or
no, I have some clips I want you to play about the health thing, but I want to hear this. You had a clip from Donald screaming.
Yeah, okay. So he starts off, and of course, knowing that the CIA is all in for Hillary, I've asserted that Donald Trump is with FBI. He's really been very nice to the FBI, particularly with Orlando. Where they had the shooter, they let him go, they tracked him, they let him go, and Donald Trump's answer to that was, well, the FBI had a bad day. Okay. So now he's saying, the FBI, the director gave them a gift. Gave them a gift of not prosecuting. And then comes the funny.
Bill Clinton, after all of that, and after the beautiful gift he was given, Bill Clinton essentially called the FBI director, James Comey, a liar when he said the FBI director was spouting bull. Can you imagine? Man, they don't realize that they owe the FBI director their political lives for refusing to recommend prosecution for Hillary Clinton's many, many crimes.
It's a still prompter.
And then he calls the director a liar. He saved Hillary Clinton from facing justice for her illegal and corrupt actions. They were illegal and they were corrupt. And the FBI saved her. And I would imagine many people within the FBI are extremely embarrassed. Extremely. Remember, Bill Clinton was impeached for lying and obstructing justice, and also had to give up his law license. People forget. Hillary Clinton created an illegal private email server, deliberately, willfully, and with total premeditation. Premeditation.
So he says pre-medication because he's reading the prompter. He corrects it, but then, I got to hand it to the guy. So he fucks up the prompter, and then he does this.
Willfully, and with total premedication. Premeditation. Could be the first way was right, actually. I might like the first way better.
It's like he's reviewing his script in real time.
Premedication. That's a very... Premedication. I think I like it.
I thought that was great. An excellent flub, fantastic comeback. Premedication.
Isn't bad.
So this becomes an issue, and I have one more clip, and then I want to hear your clips.
What becomes an issue?
Her health. Everyone's talking about her health. So she goes on Jimmy Kimmel, and I really love the way she handled the question about her health. Mainly by not answering the question. Everything but answer the question.
Speaking of rumors that have gotten started, there's now the new one is that you are unhealthy, that you had a concussion.
Right.
That Rudy Giuliani was on Fox News yesterday and today, and he's saying you seem to be sick, you look tired, et cetera, et cetera. Are you in good health?
Well, this has become one of their themes.
Instead of saying yes, yeah, I'm great. No. He doesn't say that.
Well, this has become one of their themes. Here, you take my pulse while I'm talking to you.
Okay.
Make sure I'm alive.
Oh, my God, there's nothing there.
No, of course not. She's a reptile. She has no pulse.
What can I say? It's, back in October.
I actually thought, by the way, that when he said there's nothing there,
he meant it.
She handled it well, but I thought that was actually would be negative points for her.
Could be.
He says there's nothing there. She's got no pulse.
Yeah.
Is he lying?
He's a jokester. He's a jokester. I don't know. No, but
sure I'm alive.
Oh, my God, there's nothing there.
There's nothing there. What can I
she
say?
even repeats it. That's funny.
Back in October, the National Enquirer said I would be dead in 6 months.
Oh, wow. Oh, boy.
So with every breath I take, I feel like it's a
You have a new lease on life.
Yeah, a new lease on life.
It's funny,
I don't know why they are saying this. I think on the one hand, it's part of the wacky strategy.
Stop. This is where you deconstruct this thing on the fly.
All right.
I don't know why they're saying this. Really?
Well, the whole about every breath I take, I'm happy I'm alive. I would have advised against saying that.
Well, I don't know what she's up to here, but it's not, I don't think it's, I mean, she's jovial. That's, I think, is what the only reason you go on these shows, to show that you're kind of like Obama. You can be funny. You can mix it up with the pros.
Yeah. She can't. She doesn't have Obama's.
I thought she did actually humor. In that regard. I thought she did actually better than I think.
Well, again, she's not answering the question. That's what's really interesting. All right.
Back
she's good at that.
October, the National Enquirer said I would be dead in 6 months.
Oh, wow. Oh, boy.
So with every breath I take, I feel like it's a
You have a new lease on life.
Yeah, a new lease on life.
It's funny,
I don't know why they are saying this. I think on the one hand, it's part of the wacky strategy.
Oh, the wacky strategy.
Just say
this will be studied in political science books for years to come. The wacky strategy.
Wacky strategy.
Just say all these crazy things, and maybe you can get some people to believe you. On the other hand, it just absolutely makes no sense. And I don't go around.
Why does it make no sense? She says that she's really good at doing this.
Yeah.
She just drops. She's just like me in the earlier part of the show when I had the Jew show.
You mind controlled me.
And it was like, this is what she's trying to do. It makes no sense. Yeah, it makes lots of sense. Okay, continue.
What you did at the beginning of the show, I appreciate it so much now. That was very funny, John.
Thank you.
You could find someone else to play your tricks on in the future.
And maybe you can get some people to believe you. On the other hand, it just absolutely makes no sense. And I don't go around.
What did she say? It deceptively makes no sense? Oh, I couldn't understand.
No.
Just say all these crazy things, and maybe you can get some people to believe you. On the other hand, it just absolutely makes no sense.
What did she say?
Just absolutely. It just absolutely makes no sense.
Oh, okay.
Crazy things.
Now, the thing about that phrase, just,
yeah.
Just absolutely. Not absolutely, or just plain, it makes no sense.
It's a performative in a way.
It's very much a performative. It just absolutely.
Just absolutely.
That's a mind scrambling phrase.
I know. I got smoke coming out of my ears.
You can get some people to believe you. On the other hand, it just absolutely makes no sense. And I don't go around questioning Donald Trump's health.
How about his mental health? The past 3 weeks was nothing but, is he insane? Is he nuts? Is he mental? Does he have narcissistic personality disorder? Please.
I mean, As far as I can tell, he's as healthy as a horse.
Well, his doctor said he had the best health.
There's a reason for that, for the horse comment. I'm not quite sure why, other than she's clippity-clop herself with the hoven, with the clove.
I think it's a sexual reference to draw attention to a small hand.
Oh, interesting. There's a reason for it.
Questioning Donald Trump's health. I mean, as far as I can tell, he's as healthy as a horse.
Well, his doctor said he had the best health medical examination he's ever seen in a human being.
Not exactly what was said.
Yeah, I saw that.
Can you open this jar of pickles?
Now, this was strange. I did not understand this. Who came up with this idea that to prove she is healthy, remember, she's still not answered the question in over a minute here. He says, can you open this jar of pickles?
Yeah, I saw that.
Can you open this jar of pickles? This has not been tampered with. This is...
Wow. Hey, hello, stupid slaves of the universe.
They got out of their seats and gave her a standing O almost.
Because she could open a jar of pickles. Is there a significance to pickles that I'm missing? There must be some subliminal thing.
It could also be sexual.
Man.
So she opens the jar of pickles. Of course, what ensues is Picklegate.
Was it already loosened? Is that?
Well, that's what people think because nobody heard the pop.
I have to say, I looked at it, but I'm fully aware of my bias. So, since you've tricked me, I have to live with this reality every day. It's like, is it really a bias? It looked to me like it was open already too.
Well, I don't know whether it was or not because I couldn't really. They didn't have a close up,
no,
and they didn't have a mic on the little tab that would pop when you opened it. So I don't know, and I don't really care. I think the whole thing was a fiasco.
But she didn't answer the question. This is what
she never answered the question. And the other thing is that when next night Kimmel read tweets about Picklegate, and it got her more attention.
Maybe that was your strategy right there. Have everyone focus on the jar. You know, according to Scott Adams, the Godzilla of mind control, what's his name? Goldafini, I think is his name. That's the guy who helped President Obama in the second. Was the first election the second election?
I don't remember.
Very good at persuasion. He thinks that this entire thing was set up by or was managed by Goldafini, and so maybe the idea is focus the whole thing. Well, he's really advising everything, but the idea is focus on the pickle jar. And what happens? Is anyone talking about her health? No. Apparently, there's now Picklegate. So, kind of a smart strategy.
Well, this is good. This can be if she's not healthy, which is a possibility. And we have logs of the flight, that never happened.
Yeah, so in the show notes, there's two images and these were given to me by No Agenda producer in intelligence. And
I believe, but they're not classified. I believe they came from the dump that the Associated Press had. This was part of because Associated Press, all they really wanted to look at was Hillary's schedules. And this was one of the pages from that data dump.
I think maybe this is an Excel sheet. Maybe it was, maybe it was made up, for some assets to look
additions
at.
made. There were additions made to it based on the potential of there being a plane crash during the period in question.
While we're on that briefly, about our assertion that she was in this aircraft, this C-12 that crashed in Iran, and there was supposed to be a meeting between her and Ahmadinejad, and then the plane exited, and then a SEAL Team 6 guy was killed in that crash who was likely accompanying her. And part of the video cover-up that was edited was to distract any attention away from the lie that was told by Jen Psaki about meetings with Iran, because we lied, or the State Department lied about how early they were. It turns out there were meetings before the official account, And I think Fox News got this bit in yesterday, which I did not know.
For weeks, the State Department has refused to say whether it considers the videos of its daily press briefings, which the department shoots and uploads to its website each day using your taxpayer funds, as federal records. It's an important point because the department has been investigating the deletion of 8 minutes from one such video from 2013. That deletion wiped out an exchange in which then spokesperson Jen Psaki appeared to confirm to our own James Rosen that the department had previously lied to the news media about the Iran nuclear talks. The State Department says it cannot determine if the erasure was the result of a technical glitch.
A glitch! Shut up about the glitch!
Or deliberate censorship. Today, the National Archives and Records Administration, or NARA, confirmed to Fox News that the State Department's briefing videos are indeed federal records. The Federal Records Act makes tampering with such documents a crime. Republicans in Congress are vowing to continue their own investigation into why that video was doctored.
Yeah, Rutrow, we heard Kirby say quite clearly, no. Only the transcript, which was undoctored, only the transcript is the official record, not the video. So apparently that's not true. So we'll see. This will go deep now. The young lady who edited that video, she better go into hiding because she's going to get called.
Or killed.
Yeah, there's that. Seems like there's a lot of that going around. Do you have anything else on Hillary? Because I have something on Kane.
Well, I do have the basic report that was done on Hillary's health at ABC.
Okay. Well, so we listen to that?
Yeah, let's just listen to that, even though it has a couple of the clips we've already played.
That's okay. It's a good background.
Built-in.
Now, ABC, where do they stand with Hillary?
Okay, here's the deal. They've got a new guy, Tom Llamas. Well, although it's not necessarily true, Tom Llamas didn't get him much this week. He follows around Trump. It's this new guy, David Wright, who we just heard a minute ago do the Clinton talking points. Mm-hmm. He follows around Clinton, and he's kind of an apologist for everything. And ABC. I've started a report. I'm writing for the No Agenda newsletter subscribers.
Oh, cool.
That will be a rundown of all the newspaper as of the day it's finished, which will be pretty soon because it's almost done. It's a rundown of all the news agencies, who's for Trump, who's for Clinton, who's for who knows who. Like Democracy Now, I think is leaning toward they'll defend Clinton, but they're going to probably vote Jill Stein. Mm-hmm. And so I have the list so you can, when you watch these news outlets and there's some backgrounder in there, like how the CBS people are pretty much fronts for the CIA guys. You can say, oh, these guys are for Hillary anyway, so what do you expect? And ABC to me is the one that's the most problematic because they're a little wishy-washy. I've got one really long report here that we could break apart because as I listen to it, I get the sense that it's actually sounds pro-Hillary, but it's not really pro-Hillary. And I think there's evidence of that same phenomenon in this report.
This position that those people need to be deported.
John Carl leading us off tonight. John, thank you. Meantime, this evening, Hillary Clinton fighting back on those questions about her health. Clinton dismissing claims by Trump and his surrogates that there's something we do not know. Trump also questioning her stamina. Hillary Clinton is 68. Donald Trump is 70. And tonight we ask ABC's David Wright what both candidates have revealed about their health.
On Jimmy Kimmel, Hillary Clinton laughs off Donald Trump's attacks on her health.
Are you in good health?
Well, this has become one of their themes. Here, you take my pulse while I'm talking to you.
Okay.
Make sure I'm alive.
Oh, my God, there's nothing there.
There's nothing there. What did I say?
Trump insists it's no joke.
She also lacks the mental and physical stamina.
His top advisors are sowing doubts.
Go online and put down Hillary Clinton illness. Take a look at the videos for yourself.
I'm not saying that, she's had a stroke or anything like that, but this is not the woman that we're used to seeing that would come at you and get in your grill.
Clinton dismisses it all as...
That's on ABC? A guy said, come at you and get in your grill? Really?
Yeah.
You know what a grill is in this case? It's the gold teeth overlay that hip hoppers put on their teeth. Get in my grill. Yeah. That's on ABC?
Yeah.
What is the world coming to?
That we're used to seeing that would come at you and get in your grill.
Clinton dismisses it all as conspiracy theories.
Back in October, the National Enquirer said I would be dead in 6 months.
Oh, wow. Oh, boy.
So with every breath I take, I feel like it's a
You have a new lease on life.
Yeah, a new lease on life.
It's funny,
I don't know why they are saying this. I think on the one hand, it's part of the wacky strategy.
Here's a reality check. Trump is 70, Clinton 68. Either one would be among the oldest presidents ever elected. Both refused to release their full medical records. Last year, Clinton's campaign released a detailed 2-page letter from her doctor saying she's in excellent physical condition and fit to serve as president of the United States. It notes that in 2012, Clinton did suffer a concussion after fainting. Weeks later, she claimed to have fully recovered, but reporters noticed she wore special glasses. Her aides then explained they were for lingering issues stemming from the concussion.
Or as Dr. Drew says, brain damage. You don't see Dr. Drew on any of the shows anymore, do you? Talking about him.
The only information
he's done for.
Trump has released about his health.
Yeah, this is it. Oh, Trump has released less than Hillary. Whoa, they're walking right into the trap.
Notice she wore special glasses. Her aides then explained they were for lingering issues stemming from the concussion. The only information Trump has released about his health is a 4-paragraph letter from his gastroenterologist describing the billionaire's test results as astonishingly excellent, adding that Trump would be the healthiest individual ever elected to the presidency. Today, Clinton was at a Hollywood fundraiser, posing in a photo booth with host Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel. Woo! Now out to prove she's ready for the fight.
Can you open this jar of pickles? This has not been tampered with. This is...
That was Hillary Clinton's late-night answer to questions about her health. David Wright with us live tonight. And is there any response from the Clinton team tonight about that new headline involving visitors to the State Department while Hillary was Secretary of State?
David, the Clinton campaign is dismissing that report, saying the story relies on utterly flawed data cherry-picked to give a distorted portrayal. They've been characterizing the work of the Clinton Foundation as noble, doing good in the world, saying that Trump's business is, by contrast, only enrich himself.
So to look at this report, you have to go back and forth and try to decide. They quoted the healthiest president. I mean, it's a very strange mixed bag of information that I'm not sure how people react to it. I mean, I think maybe the predefinitions might make a difference where a Democrat would say, well, this is pro-Hillary, this report. And I could see it as a pro-Trump report because it introduces doubts in a certain kind of way.
Right.
It's just a very, very strange.
Well, I think it really, there's a trap, and this trap is her health. And and yes, I think that, although 70 to me, I don't give a shit. You know how old Seymour Hersh is? He's 78. The guy doesn't look a day over 60.
Yeah.
And
then people were moaning and groaning about, John McCain, could he make it through the press? We're at the end of Obama's 8 years. McCain's still alive and he's still in the Senate, still fighting.
All ages matter, people. It's ageist and it's no different from racism.
I do have this one I want to play because this has some interesting information in it too. It's also a slanted in a different sort of way. This is the Democracy Now! Report on the Clinton Foundation scandal. That's another overview that has this kind of mixed bag of reporting, and it's not pro-Hillary by any means.
Okay, I'm sorry. Here we go.
News from the campaign trail. A new Associated Press investigation has revealed that while Hillary Clinton served as
Is that the wrong one?
Let me add another. No, it's the right one.
Okay.
But let me add another little kicker. This is, of all the reports, because I'd listened to all these, and you played the whole beginning of the show about this. This is the only one that actually, and they've done this before. I mean, I admire them for doing this. Like when they bring up some topic and somebody's done, like, Clinton was impeached and they'll bring it up. They always make sure to bring this stuff up. Yeah. They actually answer the question what Hillary. None of the other networks do this. Hillary's people come out and say it was cherry picked. It was cherry picked. And
what was cherry? Oh, the meetings were cherry picked. Okay,
the meetings were cherry picked, and they leave it. They drop it. They say, in other words, they have the two sides of the story. This was corruption. No, it was cherry picked. This was corruption. No, it was cherry picked. Democracy Now! Actually has the counter to the cherry pick thing, which nobody else did, which is the reason I wanted to play this clip.
News from the campaign trail. A new Associated Press investigation has revealed that while Hillary Clinton served as Secretary of State, more than half of the private citizens she met had donated to the Clinton Foundation. The analysis shows that at least 85 of the 154 people Hillary Clinton had scheduled phone or in-person meetings with were foundation donors. This does not include meetings Clinton held with U.S. or foreign government workers or representatives, only private citizens. These 85 donors contributed more than $150 million to the Clinton Foundation combined. Hillary Clinton has slammed the investigation, saying it cherry-picked information and that it, quote, relies on utterly flawed data, unquote. But the AP says it's been asking for the schedules for 3 years and that what has been released thus far covers only half of her 4-year tenure. This comes as the Clinton Foundation says it would spin off its international programs if Hillary Clinton wins the presidency. Former President Bill Clinton has also said he'll resign from the foundation if Hillary Clinton wins.
Now, there's a couple of things about this that weren't discussed by any of the pundits. So even if Bill, and this was discussed, but it was always discussed, well, Bill's going to quit and Chelsea's going to still be there. No, this is a classic get it while you can. This is one of those, you've got 24 hours.
Call the number on your screen now. Within 2 minutes, we'll give you 2 free pillows.
Yeah, this is like, Clinton's going to resign. Bill's going to resign. That means your access is going to go away. Get your money in there. Come on, we can use the hundreds of millions of dollars. Get it in because Bill's going to quit. He's going to quit, and then you won't have access after that.
Another point on the board for you, sir.
Unbelievable that nobody points this out. It's just like, it's like a sales pitch.
You have to. Yeah, of course. You can only point that out when you are willing to at least open your mind to the idea that what Charles Ortel is saying is true. This truly is, it's like a business development organization for commercial companies, including, Gates, the Gates family. The Gates family. And also, for them. And the Clintons, what was that book that was written a couple of years ago? It's all about about Washington, this town or whatever. Was it that what it was called? This town about DC, and it starts off with the Clintons moving and shaking at the funeral of what's his name who died. Come on, his son is now.
You're digging a hole for it. Yeah, you're talking about Mandela?
No. The journalist from Meet the Press. That guy died.
Oh, Hastings.
No, not Hastings.
Michael Hastings.
No, the fat guy who died and his kid's now taken over. Russert. This is why we have a chat room. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And the book starts off by saying the Clintons are so smart. They know that power is more important than money. And I believe that to be true. So they will trust that someone will pay them later on after I think the Clintons do things up front and then I don't think it's necessarily give me the money
agree.
first.
I think that goes on all the time. I think it's gone on. I think it goes both ways. Any way they can get the money.
Yeah.
These guys are astonishingly talented, I have to say.
Yeah.
And I do have to, I want to play the one last Hillary clip.
Sure.
Just so we get it. So the people that help this show help us, this probably could be done before the next break, but just so you get a sense of perspective about things, play the Hillary 50K fundraisers.
A new Washington Post analysis of Hillary Clinton's August schedule finds she's raised at least $32 million over the last 3 weeks through a series of exclusive fundraisers. The events held in wealthy areas such as Greenwich, Connecticut, Nantucket, Massachusetts, and Beverly Hills, California, frequently cost upwards of $50,000 a ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so happy. We were on this a long time ago. I remember it must have been 4 years ago that it was after the Haiti earthquake the Clinton Foundation was a year late after the extension with filing their documents. I mean, they were in violation of the law just by missing their filing day. We've been over this.
Well, we were aware, I think the two of us, when we started the show, because it was discussed that Hillary's going to have a problem if she wants to run for president because the Clinton Foundation is going to get in the way.
Right.
And you were the one that really got on it when this Haiti thing happened, because you were appalled.
Yeah.
I was too, by the amount of money that was collected and the texting. You can text $10 and they had the bands playing.
We just
on
need
the
cash.
TV.
I know a lot of people want to send blankets or water. Just send your cash.
And it was probably the most amount collected for any single event for a number of
quite
years.
A lot of money, yeah.
And it never went anywhere. It was just kept.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's fun to see the Washington Post. How far can the journalists really take it until someone goes, I'm sorry, you need to stop this now. We can't talk about that anymore. We're just going to stop. Okay, you can't do that. It's got to be. But Hirsch, I could have clipped this. I didn't. He was talking about the New York Times and how the New York Times was outraged that he had disputed their story of the courier that was the walk-in, the courier that gave us the information about bin Laden, which Seymour Hersh says it's completely fabricated. And the New York Times editorial board or whatever called up and they said, we have the first and official account of this because we were told exactly what happened. We wrote it first. How dare you question the history? So that is how the mainstream thinks, particularly the New York Times. We reported the official history. They are the paper of record, after all. So it's flabbergasting.
It was take notes.
Yes,
they didn't report much. They weren't. Did they have a reporter on the ground when the chopper landed? I don't think so.
Of course not. Of course not.
They just went to a meeting and somebody said, "Here's what happened." They wrote it down. Then they reported it.
Yeah,
that's what is that?
I know. Anyway, I picked up one clip. I've noticed something about Hillary's vice presidential candidate, Tim Kaine. The guy cannot deliver a punchline. You'll see this. He's the kind of guy that is set up with a joke. He has it written on a piece of paper. I don't know where he was when he did this. He sets up the joke, and then he flubs the punchline. You'll see him do this every single time. And what he's talking about here is, for some reason, he is now, his mission is to talk about Donald Trump, about how he's a liar and unsuccessful and how he's cheating his donors. And and the idea here is that, well, ever since donations started coming in for the RNC, I think most of it goes to the RNC for the down, everyone else lower on the list.
Down ballot.
Yeah, down ballot. Thank you. But Trump has now tripled the rate of the use of the Trump Tower for his campaign. So the insinuation is that when Trump was paying for everything himself, he had a very low rental rate. But as soon as donations came in, he tripled the rate to take the money from the donors. And of course, for Tim Kaine to even imply that this money, which he does, goes directly into Trump's pocket is preposterous, because that's just not how it works. But he also forgets that they expanded to 2 floors. But okay, it doesn't matter. The point is, he can't deliver the punchline.
There's another line that's coming out now that kind of shows his business acumen, since he's kind of making the case that he's a good businessman. He has highly unusual expenditures, even in this campaign. So as an example, Donald Trump is renting space in one of his buildings to his campaign, and the campaign is paying Donald Trump personally for the space. Once he started to fundraise dramatically, he was self-funding for a while, but once he started to fundraise dramatically, he immediately tripled the rent payment that his campaign was paying him personally. So once donors were writing checks to the campaign, Trump said, wow, I can get more money personally out of this. The campaign is kind of being run in a little bit of a, not ask what your country can do for you, but not ask what you can do for your country, but hey, what can this campaign do for me? And that's not.
To screw up that joke, that's pretty bad.
God.
You'll see. He tries to do this.
He's a joke artist.
He's a joke artist. He is a joke artist. A joke choker. It's exactly what he does.
I think he's a joke artist in more than one way. So,
hey-o!
Hey, you got one.
Yeah. One of your little zingers. Steck sent us something this morning, which I just wanted to share with everybody. As on the previous show, Jill Stein was talking about the Commission on Presidential Debates and how they determine who's going to be in the debate. They determine the schedule. They are a nonprofit. It's known as the CPD, the Commission on Presidential Debates. It is, nonpartisan, apparently. And he sent us a link. I don't know if you saw this morning about who actually is in charge of the Commission on Presidential Debates. The chairman and CEO is no one other than Howard G. Buffett, his son of Warren.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know it either. Let's see who else is in here. John C. Danforth, former U.S. Senator. Mitchell E. Daniels Jr., president of Purdue University. Charles Gibson, former anchor of ABC World News. John Griffin, managing director of Allen & Company. Jane Harman. She's, you see her on CNN all the time. She's kind of wacky. Antonio Hernandez of the
ex-congresswoman from Southern California.
She is, yeah. Let's see. President of the University of Notre Dame. The executive editor and anchor of the NewsHour. That's Jim Lehrer, of course. Senior counsel, Sidley Austin, LLP. So that's, let's see, these are all equity partners. And Dorothy S. Ridges, former president of the League of Women Voters, because as you know, Jill Stein reiterated, they left. They did not want to be a part of this commission. And so I guess she resigned and she stayed on. And Olympia Snowe, former U.S. Senator, and then former president of Princeton University. So this seems to be kind of a stacked deck, knowing that
and it's
Buffett
mostly
is
Democrats,
winning.
from what I can tell.
Yeah, well, they put in Harman, who's a little wacky. I like her, but she's a little wacky. She's a Republican. So it's not balanced and run by...
Yeah, she's an anti-Trump Republican, though, I'm sure.
No, I don't think so. I think
I think so.
Okay.
I bet money.
No. Shoot, man, I think that's all I have on anything election-wise. It's
a long segment. We could play. There was Donna Shalala came on PBS to defend. She's the president and CEO of the Clinton Foundation.
Oh.
She's an old Clinton hack.
Uh-huh.
And she came on and refused to really answer questions. She had a big smile on her face, and I wish I could get some of the key clips that she's so boring, but they would ask her questions about the whole thing, about impropriety.
Now, is she the CEO of the main foundation? Or?
Yes, the main foundation.
Okay. All right.
And she says, and she wouldn't answer a lot of questions like, is Chelsea going to stay on? Because I guess, it still look pretty sketchy, and she wouldn't say. And she said, well, we're going to make some announcements. And she said, that was all the good that's being done. She's everyone's going to die if this is the greatest operation in the history of mankind.
Yes, of course.
On and on.
Yes.
But let's just play a little bit of her trying to answer questions. She doesn't answer anything. This is PBS Rap Donna.
And we are joined now by Donna Shalala, president of the Clinton Foundation. She served as Secretary of Health and Human Services in the Bill Clinton administration. Madam Secretary, thanks for joining us. Members of...
Wait. Madam Secretary?
Yeah, you still do that. They do that. If you're Secretary of State, Secretary of Health, you can still be called Madam Secretary.
Oh, okay.
She served as Secretary of Health and Human Services in the Bill Clinton administration. Madam Secretary, thanks for joining us. Members of Hillary Clinton's campaign, as well as your foundation, have said recently that there has been no conflict of interest in the meetings that Secretary Clinton took with those people who also happen to be donors to the Clinton Foundation. Can you see the appearance of impropriety?
There's no real conflict.
Well,
Our goal is to eliminate all appearance of impropriety if Mrs. Clinton is elected. And the president has already announced not only that we won't take any corporate donations or foreign donations, but he will leave a role in governance. He will leave the board of the foundation. And as for the other organizations, which are our partners, we will make sure that both the governance is clean, but more importantly, that those programs are spun off either as separate 501c3s without our participation, or we'll find partners that will take over the responsibility. We help millions of people around the world. There are 100,000 farmers in East Africa that depend on the Clinton programs for their seeds, for technical assistance, for training. We have to make sure that whether they're women entrepreneurs in Latin America or farmers in Africa or Asia, that all of these programs are seamlessly transferred either to other organizations or to become independent organizations. We've already announced that the Clinton Global Initiative, the great matchmaker between
money and access,
profits, foundations, and corporations to do wonderful charity work around the world, that will end after this September's conference. So we're taking very strong steps, but it would be irresponsible to do all of this before she's elected.
Wow, they're really pulling the ripcord.
They would be irresponsible to do this before she's elected.
I don't see why.
So get your money in now, folks. You got a short opportunity. You got a window of 3 months.
It's a bonanza.
We'll take the money now, and we'll pay. We're never going to make the changes, and you won't have a chance after that. So get it in now while you can. They're going to have huge numbers going in. These are insurance policies.
I tell you, got to come down because Crazy Eddie is insane. I love that guy. You Google Crazy Eddie, people. You youngsters out there.
You youngsters.
You got any more from her? I like her.
No, I tried this rap. She helped. Yes, I'm not sure what this one is.
Okay.
James Grimaldi, what are the meetings that Secretary of State Clinton took that are raising these concerns?
Well, there was a recent Associated Press report.
Who's this? Do you know?
Okay, so they do this long wrap of the whole thing, of the whole story. Of course, again, without the elements that we do.
Right.
And they bring out a couple of extras. So they bring out this one guy who, some guys, like, he used to be a professor, now he's just a consultant. And then they brought a reporter from the Wall Street Journal. It's actually pretty good, slamming Hillary. But this one here is the one that kind of got my attention. I said slamming, and this is the one that got my attention.
A recent Associated Press report that analyzed the calendars of Secretary Clinton, and they looked at all the private meetings for the first half of her tenure at the State Department, because that's all that's been released under the lawsuit they have under the Freedom of Information Act. There were 145 meetings, and about 85, I believe, of those meetings were with Clinton Foundation donors. So that raised the question about whether those meetings meant that if you paid money to the donation or gave some sort of gift, meant that you were going to get expedited treatment at the State Department.
Even if this is a limited cross-section of all the meetings that she took, is there evidence or there issues where she advocated on behalf of companies that might have contributed to the foundation?
Yes, so I took a look at that question. We broke down all of the donors for the Clinton Foundation. We categorized them by size, and then we looked at the largest corporations. And of those corporations, we then compared them with lobbying records that are filed with the United States Congress. When we did that, we found that 60 corporations that were lobbying the State Department while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State had given $26 million to the Clinton Foundation. In addition, they had participated in commitments, they called them, charitable projects with the Clinton Foundation, valued by the foundation at more than $2 billion. Those are sort of big numbers in terms of that. The billions did not go to the Clinton Foundation. They went to charities and charitable activities, but the Clinton Foundation rightly takes some credit for those. So the question is, when these favors that Hillary was doing for certain companies, or these companies were seeking favors from Secretary Clinton, were they giving because they were hoping she was going to help them out? Now, in certain cases, we know that she actually did help certain companies out.
This was the reporter. I'm sorry I got the two guys mixed up.
Yeah.
And no, she did help people out, and that's the way it operates. It's a scam. It's a corrupt situation, and it's going to continue. They're going to get a lot of donations from these giant companies in Saudi Arabia and everybody else.
PayPal buttons are up. Yeah. Chip in.
Chip in.
Chip in. Hey, I don't know. I'm going to stick to my assertion that we are, for some reason, Hillary, the U.S., we're all moving towards Iran, or something's going on, moving away from Saudi Arabia. We disagree about that. It's okay. But what happened just yesterday, the way it was reported was just funny to me. I mean, got little dinghies floating around.
Iranian warships coming within a few hundred yards of a U.S. Navy warship. This is unbelievable, these pictures we're getting in. And our global affairs correspondent, Elise Labott, is here. Tell us more, Elise.
Well, Brianna, we are talking about the U.S. guided missile destroyer, the USS Nietzsche. And if you take a look at these video right here, you see 4 Iranian vessels coming dangerously close to the Nietzsche. We understand from the U.S. military that the guided destroyer tried to, on 12 separate occasions, tried to reach out to these Iranian, 12, tried to reach out to the Iranian vessels to tell them to stop. But here they are just speeding so close to the Nietzsche. We understand just 300 yards. That is a dangerously close call, Brianna. You can see they're coming through with like real warp speed, despite these warnings from the Nietzsche.
Stop. Warp speed. Warships. They're like 3 dinghies. 3 dinghies racing around. But first of all, what are we doing in the Strait of Hormuz at warp speed? But the Iranians keep sending us messages. You got to wonder why. Something going on. This deal is all good, and we gave them the money, and we've exchanged our hostages. What is going on? Why is this? And why is the reporting so scary?
I have no idea.
Well,
this is one thing I'm not following. All I know is when it comes to the choosing between Iran and Saudi Arabia and their trillions of dollars, I think we always go with the money.
Yes, always go with the money.
You said you wanted to play an incredible report. This is my favorite one. Now, the clip is misspelled. It should say New Planet, but it's NDW I put on here, I noticed. But this is a report on ABC News about a new planet. When I saw the headline, I said, oh, they found another planet out by Pluto. No. No.
By the way, brings me back to David Icke. What did he say was on the moon?
What?
Moon bases.
Israeli moon bases.
Israeli moon bases. Confirmation.
The new planet. Scientists excited tonight about a new Earth-like planet found circling the star that is nearest to our sun. An artist's rendering tonight of what it might look like. They say the planet may have water and ocean. Scientists calling the discovery, quote, amazing.
So they show a picture using obviously KPT Bryce or some old software program that can create these scenes with a big lake.
Oh, Bryce, sure. Bryce, I remember Bryce. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Bryce.
Bryce and Kai Power Tools, all of those things.
Yeah, it's Kai. Yeah, he's not. Yeah, Kai's a interesting guy. I know him. He's a friend of mine. He was married to one of the most beautiful women in the world for a little while. And I don't believe she ever existed. I'm all in with Ike on this one. Anyway, so they show this planet is out by some sun nowhere near us. It's like it's pinprick, I don't care how much gear you've got, and it's the planet around the sun. And then to dream up an artist's sketch, talk about it having rivers and lakes. I mean, they were stunned by what they found on Pluto when they had a flyby and actually had a camera. Which, may or may not be sending the data properly based on the calculations of their bandwidth. But that's another story. I can't believe they do this. I think it's a disservice to the public.
It's real.
They don't know what's on this planet.
It's real.
It could be filled with arsenic for all we know.
I
just found it annoying.
I picked up a story from Yahoo Finance News. Change.org, who of course we know a lot about. They're I guess you could call them a petition site, but here's how the Yahoo News Finance News characterizes them. Change.org, the popular online petition site with over 157 million users, is laying off its entire business development team. That means almost 17% of the organization, 58 employees. They have 325 employees, 24 being laid off immediately, 34 expected to leave the company the end of the year. And the layoffs come as a result of changes in the revenue model of Change.org, which is a B corporation, which is the same as a for-profit corporation, only you apparently are focused on social and environmental issues. So we are a B podcast, if you think about it.
That's what a lot of people have said.
I've heard this everywhere. Until now, Change.org has been relying on a financially unsuccessful revenue model around sponsored petitions paid for by nonprofits such as Doctors Without Borders, Oxfam, and now it is moving toward here's what Yahoo Finance calls it, a crowdfunding model where petition signers can donate cash. The company will take a 5% fee on all donations. And by the way, Change.org to date has raised $42 million from, who do you think they got their money from?
Clinton Foundation.
Well, we have Huffington Post, Bill Gates, and Ashton Kutcher.
Huh.
But what I like is that they are trying to go to I would call it a value for value model. They're trying to get people to pay for a service they provide, which I encourage. But now we'll see what they're really made of. Let's see if people really give a crap about Change.org, if they really are delivering an outstanding product. I have a feeling that
all it is a petitioning service. They're not giving you information or anything of value. Is that you consider that value?
That's why I think it will fail. It has to be value for value.
A prediction.
Yes.
John
Sorry, I screwed it up. What? Sorry.
I don't know what you screwed up. I was talking over you.
Go ahead.
Value for value fails if there's no value.
Exactly. And we love the value for value model.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda.
Well, we do have some people to thank for helping us get this show off the road. This is off the road, on the show, on the air. 854, I believe, is the show number.
Yes, it is.
And let's start with thanking some people. And I don't actually know how Donald Borowski's name got on here, but it says he gave $160.16, and I have the note, but I don't have the note. He did give something recently, and I had a note for that, but I don't know.
Let me see.
Well, all I'm going to do is say thanks, Donald, he's in Spokane Valley. Oh, wait a minute. No, it was a Spokane Valley that came in. It was not, did not have the note that I know. It's just something. I'm confused, so I'm just going to let it slide until next show.
Okay.
$116.16. Philip Lee in Caterham, Surrey, Great Britain. He's got $100 for the best podcast in the universe, and he is apparently he needs some job karma. We'll give him some of that at the end for his MILF at the end of the listings here.
His MILF, smoking hot girlfriend Jenna.
MILF, that's one mother I'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, never mind. You got it right there.
Done and done.
Michael Reeves in Daphne, Alabama, $112.35 says, I enjoyed the Onion show, which we did not like the Onion comic, but more like the Onion.
Yeah, this is our show where we just peel back the layers of the No Agenda
show. Peeling and peeling.
Yes.
And I was surprised to find Adam's dream to be an overnight legend, presumably not like Don Lemon.
I don't remember saying that.
Yeah, something like that. Joshua Kratke in Ankeny, Iowa, $101.33. Andrew Tutt in London, UK, another Londoner coming in. That's well appreciated. $91.19, a little back and forth. Sir Daniel Ehrlich in Bowlesburg, Pennsylvania, 8540. Got a birthday thing. David March in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Boob, 8008. And that one on the last newsletter was, I believe it was a picture. Oh, yeah, somebody wrote this in, too. In fact, I'll get to it because he clicked on it. It was the picture of Obama with Soros. Sir Charles Walters, boob, Schaumburg, Illinois. He picked it up. Sir Lynn Fogwell in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Picked up a boob?
He picked up boob. And then Tyler Stewart in Chilcott, Ohio, says, that photo of Obama and Rockefeller, is it real? It looks photoshopped. Well, that's not Rockefeller.
No.
I mean, I'm assuming that it does look vaguely. I think Soros looks vaguely like David Rockefeller, who's like 100. He's definitely a lizard, and got another 50 years to go. But I don't believe that photo was photoshopped. I think Obama has met with Soros.
Of course he has. Yes.
Yeah. Would make no sense if he didn't. Matthew Durney in Spotsylvania, Virginia. He got it too. Boob.
Yeah, it's a long list, but we don't typically read all of the notes or play jingles in the second segment just for brevity.
Yeah, otherwise the show we did that early on, and the show was obviously getting bogged down. But thanks, we read your note, and we'll throw some of these things at the end.
Of course.
Sir Smock in Las Cruces, New Mexico, also had caught boob. And he says, Smock. And it's another one of those references I do on the show for the 2 or 3 people that get those references. Michael LaMacchia.
Wait, you missed Trevor Naismith.
Trevor Naismith, inventor of the game of basketball. 6969. And he's in somewhere in an APO.
And he says, this feet in the air at an undisclosed location in the vast Pacific Ocean. Please call it Uncle Bobber? Uncle Bobber. Well, he's a douchebag. Time to donate, says Trevor.
He's right. Michael Lamacchia, I believe, in Knoxville, Tennessee, 60. Gabe Shabazian in San Francisco, 60. And he donated because the photo I dropped in there of Obama golfing in the flood. Very funny photo. Eric Mahoney, too bad nobody else thought much of it. Eric Mahoney, Hamilton, Ontario, 5115.
Interesting note.
Kaufman.
Hold on. Interesting note. John and Adam, this is your loyal, starving Canadian, Scandinavian grad student. He actually says Scandinavian.
Yes, he does.
I've just finished my committee meeting, securing another 8 months of employment. I'm certain the karma for my earlier donation had something to do with it. So we'll give him some karma at the end there. Oh, actually, we'll do a jobs karma, general jobs karma. Everyone can use some of that.
Billy Talty in New Orleans, Louisiana, $50.01. Just getting into the top. Oh, I'm sorry. There's also Brian Kaufman in Phoenix. I think I said that, 50-50. From Brian. Maybe a sir. Joe Schwartzbauer in Florissant, Missouri, $50. And these will all be $50. Each one of these, I'll read their name and location. Christine Williams over there in Dallas, Texas. Right nearby is Zachary Saldivar in San Angelo, Texas. Sir Paul Webb in Twickenham, Middlesex, UK, 50. He says, I've been listening for 3 years now. Love the show. Michael Winton in Bartlett, Tennessee. Andrew Beard in Powhatan, Virginia. Jason Daniels, parts unknown. Adam DeMuy in Milton, Florida. Brandon Menk, who I believe is a sir, in Tempe, Arizona. Sir Patrick Macomb, we know for a fact, New York City. Marnie Robinson in Toronto, Ontario. Stacy Sant-Amand in Kingston, Ontario. Also 50. He's got
well, the thing that Stacy found out is he's let me see. Oh, no, there's something else. No, long thing. No, sorry. The jury will disregard that comment. Thank you, Stacy, for your donation.
And note.
And long note. It was a good one.
And it's a Mr. Stacy, by the way, for you that don't know.
All right.
Sandy, which needs to be explained. Yep. Sandy Geisler in Watkinsville, Georgia, $50. Michael Kaufman in Hillsboro, Oregon. That's the group of well-wishers and producers for show 854. I want to thank each and every one of them for continuing to support this endeavor, and remind you that at Dvorak.org/NA is the place to go to help us, because we got not too much time left before the Sunday show.
That's right.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. Youth jobs.
It's your birthday.
Short today. We have a belated birthday to Sir Paul Webb, who turned 36 on August 16th. Happy birthday. And celebrating today is Sir Daniel Ehrlich. And we say happy birthday to you from everybody here, the staff and management at the best podcast in the universe.
It's your birthday, yeah.
So we have Sir Luke of London becomes the Baron of London. Very good to have him there and watching out for the Brexit, taking care of business. And we do have one knighting today.
Here you go.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. And we're not quite sure about the status of this particular person, since he is going to be dubbed the Angelic Knight, so he may not actually be with us in the living dimensional world. But it is Anonymous who put him there, and we are hereby very happy and proud to pronounce-ticate the anonymous person as Sir Angelic Knight, Knight of the No Agenda Roundtable for you. If it's not 70 virgins, it's hookers and blow, rent boys and Chardonnay, mangoes and filet mignon, poutine and rye whiskey, fry bed and fembox. We got root beer and pepperoni pizza, bong hits and bourbon, ginger ale and gerbils, breast milk and pablum, and of course, mutton and mead. So, Sir Angelic Knight, head on over to noagendanation.com/rings, pick up or to give Eric the information so we can send it off to you, no matter what the address may be. Oh, yes, I have something from France. The BBC interviewed the mayor of Nice regarding the burkini controversy. The burkini controversy continues, as we now have also seen pictures of French paramilitary police at gunpoint telling women to take off their undress.
Put on your clothes.
Put on your clothes. Now, it's and I'm pretty sure these things are never brought up in the United States because it's difficult to understand. I think certainly the French perspective, who have just been hammered, slammed by all kinds of terrorist events. So again, to review, you may not wear burkini on the beaches of the south of France. And this is a mayoral decision, and it is similar to what Paris has for headscarves, etc. Now, it is not easy to comprehend for people that the French don't want this, but having been in the Netherlands and seen what they call straatbeeld, or the view of the street, change dramatically from all kinds of colorful individuals to a very drab look of just, dark headscarves, and of course, lots of burqas and niqabs, which is, the burqa, but you still see the eyes. It's hard to comprehend for people that, this is just crazy. What happens to the freedom of expression? Women can wear whatever they want. But the majority of the French, of course, agree with this. However, this reporter for BBC is a Muslim herself, and she is having none of it. And I just found it's a long segment, like eight minutes. I brought it down to minute 45, just to give you some of the essentials, so you can understand where they're coming from. It's not shocking, but I think good to listen to.
Yes, of course. It's a necessity. After what we've been living the 14th of July on the Promenade des Anglais, we can't afford anymore to have this kind of provocation from the Islamists, because it is a political claim of the Islamists. It is not the habit and the custom of the Muslims from Nice to be wear like this on the beach.
How is a woman wearing what she wants to wear on a beach a provocation?
Because, it is an Islamist wearing. It is not a bikini. When you go to the beach, you have a bathing suit. And a bathing suit in Europe, we know what it is. So when you go to an Arab country, if you want to go in bikini, you can't.
And people always conveniently forget that part of it.
So when you are in Europe, you have to be like everybody is on the beach. We are not a religious republic. I think we have to have as priority security. And security is the way you live in a country. And so we have to respect the way we live with the laws of the country. I can't believe that a woman is happy wearing clothes like this on the beach when the temperature is almost 40 degrees Celsius.
But sir, that's it's very presumptuous of you to say you can't believe that the woman would be willing to dress like that. The way this looks is pretty negative for the French police. Men with guns forcing a woman to undress on a public beach with the full force of the law behind them.
I think you're not living in the same world we are living. I'm sorry, I disagree what you say. You know, we know exactly what is this political claim of Islamist. I am fighting for the freedom of the women, and I can't imagine that the women covered like this in the streets or in the beach is a freedom, you know?
How would you feel if the picture was of French police officers, armed French police officers, forcing Christian nuns to remove their habits at the beach?
I love this. So we're so desperate now. Yeah, well, it's nutty, of course, to even. And by the way, these secular laws in France were set up a long time ago specifically to keep Christianity and all of that out of their politics. I think you probably couldn't do that as a nun, but it's kind of preposterous for her to bring this up.
Police officers forcing Christian nuns to remove their habits at the beach.
You know, Christian nuns are not on the beach like this. I never saw that. I'm sorry.
There are many pictures. There are many pictures, sir, of nuns on beaches.
Nuns on beaches.
You saw pictures. I am on the beach. I know my beach, and I have seen that for many years. So don't tell me something you don't know or something you didn't see on the beach, please.
You son of a beach! Don't say this. You're horrible.
Yeah, it's a lie.
What?
Nuns on the beach.
Of course. She's got pictures. Nuns on the beach.
Sure she does.
Nuns on the beach.
Just get a nun and have her go on the beach, take a picture. It's not that hard.
Meanwhile, there was a stabbing in Virginia.
Well, before you go on, and you talked about this one-sided report by this Muslim reporter. I like you that she should be covering the female genital mutilation story that's going on in Russia right now.
Oh, I haven't heard this.
Which I think is probably something I'd like to hear from her on this. Just try FGM1.
Oh, okay. I know a lot about this, actually. Female genital mutilation.
Now, the practice of female genital cutting is condemned by the UN in many countries across the world, but it's apparently becoming a common procedure in remote villages of Russia's North Caucasus region. RT's Medina Korchenova speaks with the investigative journalist who uncovered the horrifying trend.
The outrageous practice of female genital cutting still exists in remote areas of Russia's Republic of Dagestan. This alarming finding was brought alive by a human rights group. The practice tends to be carried out on girls as young as 3, sometimes without an anesthetic and often in unsanitary conditions. It is supported by the community and some religious leaders, and locals do not view this practice as something out of the ordinary.
Now, I should mention, let's do a couple of things here. One, they went into it, then they did their classic RT thing where they interviewed a bunch of women, and then they had it all written on the screen. So
I hate that, yeah.
They really should get over this. Yeah. What does a voiceover guy cost? So,
hey, hire me. I'm cheap.
One of the things that was on there says you cannot be a Muslim unless you've had this done to you. You cannot be a Muslim is one of the things they believe up there. And let's just mention what this is. This is a clitorectomy where the clitoris is removed from the body.
Yeah.
And that's what they do in
a
lot of Muslim countries. And nobody really wants to talk about it much.
Well, the person who talked about it, just to interject for a moment, is Ayaan Hirsi Ali. She's from Somalia. And she became a politician in the Netherlands. She was a leading opponent of female genital mutilation. It happened to her, and she then did the movie with Theo van Gogh titled Submission. And he was killed for it. He was gunned down in the streets of Amsterdam with a knife stuck in his chest with a note. They stuck the note to his chest with the knife. This is well discussed until she brought it up in the Dutch Parliament, and then they said, "Yeah, well, you're going to have to not be a politician anymore, and we're going to stop. We're going to stop your. We're not going to give you protection anymore." So she had to go undercover, and she still has I think she's married to that English dweeb. What's his name? Niall Ferguson.
This is something that they don't want to discuss. That woman who just did the report about the beaches won't discuss this. They just won't discuss it because it's kind of disgusting. And the second half of this clip is kind of explaining some of the reasons they do it. So let's play that.
When they went through it. That is, it is done so women do not cheat, to deprive them of sexual desires, and to stop them having sex before marriage.
We talked to a gynecologist from Makhachkala who doesn't consider it a barbaric procedure. Take a listen.
This procedure doesn't harm women's health. None of the organs or any part of any organ is removed. I've never heard of any young woman complaining that her sensitivity has changed.
What is your reaction to that?
She talks about women. If a woman is 18 and can make her own decisions about her body, that's her business. But when this procedure is performed on little girls who cannot make such decisions and who are completely dependent on their parents, it is, in my opinion, a crime. I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of those little girls.
Now, there's an interesting point here that was kind of, again, nobody questions these things. A woman, the gynecologist who's a Muslim, all covered up. She says, I've never heard anybody bitch about sensitivity being changed much. Well, it was a 3-year-old.
Yeah, what would the 3-year-old know about it?
What would a 3-year-old know about it? So this is a nonsense. Now, I wanted to talk about this a few weeks ago because apparently a number of Muslim clerics came out as a group and were talking, promoting the idea. Well, this is nothing wrong with this. It's a tradition. It's a great idea. And it got very little press coverage. And this gets very little press coverage because it's going to offend somebody. But I think they have to defend this. And I'd like to hear more about this practice. But
well, I'm sure we'll receive a lot of emails about it.
I doubt it.
We may.
I would really doubt it. It'll be just like everything. Oh, well, that's the way it goes, blah, blah, blah. What kind of emails are we going to get about it? Are they going to be say, you should not talk about this?
I'll tell you when it's going to come up. When it's time to take over Somalia. That's when it's going to come up. That is, it's on the list.
Maybe.
Of the Wes Clark 7. Let's listen to him again. Oops, that's not the one.
I like the band.
Yeah, that was not the Wes Clark 7. I don't know why that was in there. But it included Iraq, Iran, Syria, Libya, Somalia. How many do I have now? I'm missing one. What am I missing? Lebanon.
Counting.
I think I'm having them all. Lebanon. By the way, I got to send you this link. Christina's still in Jordan.
Last, Iran.
Yeah, Iran and Iraq. Christina's still in Jordan for this reality television show.
Oh, we need to get a report.
I've been trying to get something out of her, but of course, she only has her phone on, once in a while, and I can see. I send her a message, and I can see 2 blue check marks on WhatsApp, so she read it, but no reply, which is not uncommon for millennial kids. It's frustrating, but not uncommon. Also, I was parenting her, so I understand.
She may be under NDA by now.
Well, I said, hey, baby, just so you know, even though Jordan is cool, it's okay. For you to be there, just remember the culture is not particularly pro-women or gay, of which she is both. So to be careful. So of course she's not going to answer me. She's a douchebag. I know what I'm doing. And then she posted these pictures with a hijab. Oh my God, she's Muslim. My kid is a Muslim. She not just a Muslim. She's a Middle Eastern Muslim.
Is that what she looks like?
And beautiful. Oh, yeah, I'll send you the pictures. It's on the face.
She should use less makeup.
It's fantastic.
Not supposed to be beautiful.
All right. But let me see if I have anything else we need to talk about.
Well, I have something that's kind of interesting. Good little denouement.
Okay.
This is a story that took place in February. I did not know this until I saw it on not RT. Yeah, it was on RT, but it was on Following the Hawks or whatever that show is. I don't know. Maybe you heard of this. I didn't hear about it, about the FBI taking over a kiddie porn site.
Yes. They took over this pedophile website so that they could use it as a honeypot task.
Yes, but just because of this report.
Oh, I know exactly what's coming.
But just because a job isn't easy doesn't make it immune from criticism. In fact, quite the opposite. That is why we strongly criticize the FBI about the can of snakes they opened after secretly assuming control of Playpen, the dark web's largest child pornography site, for about 2 weeks back in February in an effort to catch child pornographers. Clearly, the FBI took the old "to catch a criminal, you must become a criminal" tagline for just about every undercover cop action movie ever made to an absurd and ultimately dangerous and outright disgusting end. Because the snakes are indeed pouring out of the can, according to newly filed court exhibits that show that while under the FBI's control, Playpen as a site performs substantially better, seeing weekly visits roughly quadruple and memberships rise 30%. Users even commented on the improvements made to the site and how well it was running. Wow. So apparently in their overzealousness to stop child porn, which is understandable, the FBI has apparently become really, really good at operating smoothly running child porn websites.
I knew that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I thought it was.
You guys are good. Good work, everybody.
Hilarious story.
I got 2 stories here. One, which is I find very disturbing. Let me see. I got this off of the. I love these government technology websites where they talk about just so much technology mayhem going on. When the president leaves, when this current president leaves, and when we get our new president, the POTUS at POTUS Twitter account will be completely cleaned out, effectively deleted, and not archived anywhere for the public to see. It will start fresh so the new POTUS can take over that. That's breaking the web. I think this is very wrong.
Well, they have been archiving every tweet.
In the National Archives.
I think it's the Library of Congress.
You may be right. It's in this article, I think, somewhere. And I thought they had the full fire hose at the Library of Congress where they can have everything. But apparently, just select pieces and other pieces will be in his presidential library. But it's really a fundamental breakage of the web, of the idea.
It's somebody's private site. So it's like somebody takes their blog down. Are you going to make the same comment?
If he was the president, yeah. It's nice to be able to have that historical reference of his Twitter feed. Why? That's not a huge bitch on my part. I find it strange they're taking it down, or archive it as POTUS archive at POTUS archive or something. Don't just take it away. No, I find that odd. I don't like that at all. I think it's rude. And it shows a disrespect for the concept of the internet and the web. And I'll say social media. Let's get social, man.
Play it. Come on, play it. Play it.
That's not something I have.
You should.
Okay. All right. I'll do it the short version then. Let's go.
Let's get social. Let's get social. Let's get social. Let's get social.
Social media.
There was
Give it up, Mary McCoy.
Woo! Woo!
Mary McCoy, woman who never get work. Now, I was watching RT, and they had there was a long clip about all these people. Oh, the Russians are hacking here, they're hacking there, they're hacking they're hacking that. And I have to say, at the very end of one of these things, this is the RT on the Russian hackers summary, a very short clip summarizing all these reports.
So we don't know exactly all the facts here, but one thing that seems to be a pattern is that when a hacking attack takes place, U.S. media assumes Russia is to blame without providing any real evidence.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course. That's what we do. Fabulous.
It'd be annoying to them.
Here we go. This is a really fun one. This is one of our producers. I will not name him because this is an email chain that he sent to me, which we would call a thread, but in government you call it a chain. This is not from government, but this is from the Clarkson University. Greetings, fellow Clarkson alumni. I'm Daniel Horn, the president of the new upstate South Carolina chapter of the Clarkson Alumni Association, which includes those who live in North Carolina near the NC-SC state line. This new chapter joins over 25 other regional chapters, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, this came in two different pieces. How come I can't find this? Oh, crap. Anyway, shit. I know I do this from time to time. Here's the problem.
It's funny when
they're handing out their honorary degrees.
Okay.
Who do you think they gave an honorary degree to?
Hillary Clinton?
No.
Donald Trump?
No.
Jimmy Kimmel?
The three women who started the hashtag Black Lives Matter.
Why?
There you go. There are a lot of in this email chain. A lot of alums like, well, I'm not going to be at the graduation. I'm not going to be at the 50th anniversary. I received my doctorate from. I'm not going to be there for here as a result of Clarkson awarding honorary degrees to the founders of Black Lives Matter movement at this past May's commencement. I was both angered and embarrassed. I mean, for inventing a
black
hashtag.
School. Is it a black school?
Well, I don't know if it's a black school. It
might be a black school.
Doesn't matter. It seems for creating a hashtag, that's a little much. And I'd love to, if you do the commencement, you get an honorary degree. I'd love to do one of those.
Not always.
No. Yeah.
Some schools are very cheap with the honorary degrees. University of California, Berkeley being an example.
Well, it just seems that an honorary degree for that seems a bit much.
Yeah, it seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why don't you just have a sign-up list for honorary degrees? You have a waiting list. I'll put my name on there. I could go for one. I could go for an honorary degree.
Yeah.
I'm a Kentucky colonel,
A Kentucky colonel?
Yeah, well, it's a big deal. Look it up.
Why don't you tell me about what do I have to look it up?
It's easier to look it up.
Oh.
Kentucky colonel.
All right.
It's an honorary something. Honorary colonelship. I'm an official colonel in Kentucky.
Just for the record, on this day in 1936, it was one of the hottest days in U.S. history. It was 116 degrees in South Dakota. And this was before we had global cooling or global warming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, been going on for a while. So I have a funny one here. This is maybe talk about for a second before we go into the end.
Yep.
So Tantero, this woman who was on the Fox, she was fired. And largely due to the fact that she wore pants or something. Yeah. And the funny thing is, by the way, ever since Ailes left,
everyone's wearing pants.
Guilfoyle.
Yeah.
At the end of the table, she's wearing slacks.
Wow. Oh my! It's ruined.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen. I mean, it's when I saw. Right after he got fired, I turned it on to 5 or whatever that show is, and there she was with slacks. I don't know if she's keeping with that.
No. The Democrats have now taken over in plain view. We always knew they ran the show. Now someone's in there who's running it, and now that's going to ruin it by predict poor ratings.
Well,
yeah, this is their strength.
So here is a woman, Tantero, who is a Republican. She big pro-Trump Republican. She got fired for some reason or other. But here's the report on her lawsuit. Everyone's on yes, jump on board. And so that she's suing it. It's pretty, it's again, from a perspective of Hollywood, it's mild, but from the way things are going at Fox, it's part of the game now.
Former Fox News host Andrea Tantaros has filed a lawsuit alleging top Fox News executives punished her after she reported being sexually harassed by former Fox News chair Roger Ailes. In the lawsuit, Tantaros said she was prohibited from wearing pants on air because his executives told her, quote, Roger wants to see your legs, unquote. Tantaros also alleges she was removed from one of Fox's top-rated shows after she refused to turn around during a meeting with Roger Ailes Ailes, who told her he wanted to, quote, get a good look at her, unquote. Tantaros says that when she told Executive Bill Shine about the harassment, he told her to, quote, let this one go, unquote. Shine has taken over as co-president of Fox News following Ailes' resignation. The lawsuit writes, quote, Fox News masquerades as a defender of traditional family values, but behind the scenes it operates like a sex-fueled Playboy mansion-like cult steeped in intimidation, indecency, and misogyny, unquote.
Yeah, welcome to Hollywood. Oh, this is new. Wow.
It's interesting to watch this unfold because some of the stuff can be easily be taken out of context. The idea of having the girl spin around because he wants to look at somebody.
We discussed this. It's not uncommon in television.
And Roger is, and they made it sound sleazy. Well, he is sleazy, but they made it sound more sleazy by saying Roger wants to see legs, wants to see your legs. No, Roger wants to see the legs on the TV.
Yeah, of course.
Because you put the legs out there, and then it draws attention to. It makes people stay on the channel a little longer. It's just a known fact. But you can't do that anymore. So wear pants, ladies, when you do TV, and don't worry about it.
Yeah. Pants. I got ants in my pants. All right, buddy. Okay. Well, we will see what the next few days brings us. We will be here to deconstruct as much as we can for you. We really do as much as two dudes and some microphones can do on this B podcast.
Yes.
Because it's for social good. That's why it's a B.
Alrighty then.
Yes. Coming to you
we have some good stuff coming up. There's a lot of stuff breaking constantly now.
Yeah, well, everything's breaking.
Yeah.
Breaking news. Coming to you from the Crackpot condo here in the skyscraper in downtown Austin, Tejas. We are located in FEMA Region 6, in case you're wondering. We will return Sunday. Until then, everybody, I'm Adam Curry saying, in the morning. I'm Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, where I'm sit here deconstructing as much as I can, watching C-SPAN, watching all these channels. I don't know why it hasn't driven me crazy. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We'll be back on Sunday, right here on No Agenda. Adios, mofos.
Stupid people talking to stupid people.
As soon as possible, it's clicks. It's as soon as possible, it's clicks.
Husbands, women, put down. Put them down.
As soon as possible, it's clicks. It's when you use ads, asking you clicks.
Put them down. Women, down.
Use it's ad revenue. Clicks.
Girls in school. Think at school.
Click, use it.
Think to sing or grow. How things
circumstances of the story.
Yes.
Circumstances when you prove the story.
Yes.
Circumstances when you
stupid people. Story. When you stupid people, and they're all stupid people, and they're all eating the stupid people, and they're the stupid people, and they're all clapping, and then the stupid people, and
often become
that right there is a fantastic.
And then talk
circumstances often become
and they're all eating the stupid.
It's a fantastic little bit.
That are playing those clips. It's
as soon as possible, it's
people, and they're eating the stupid, and they're the stupid.
It's you, nicks.
The stupid people.
It's use, it's ad,
and
it's ad revenue.
And people.
It's ad revenue.
And all these people, and they're all clapping, and then the stupid people, and they're all clapping, and then the stupid people, and they're all clapping, and then the people talk people and the stupid, all clapping, and then the people talk people and the stupid, all clapping, and then the people talk people and the stupid.
Wow, I am really high.
Hey, no. I've told you that you're in my house. If you're eating the hors d'oeuvres and drinking the booze, we'll have to take you out.
To the Batmobile. Let's go. Go.
Hey.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out. Hey. Come on. I know that's right. Come on. Come on. I'm up in the house. Hey, no. Okay, come on. Come on, guys. No. Hey, where was I? Hey, come on.
Kiss my fat ass!
Hello, everybody. You smell what Barack has cooked. You think I'm joking? I have 2 words for you. Predator drones. You will never see it coming.
But resist we much. We must and we will much. About that be committed.
So connect with me, let's have some fun, let's show the world how this gets done. Let's get social with social media. Let's get social with social media, where we can spread the word and grow our reach and find our fans in their news feed. Let's get social with social media.
Amen. Fist bump.
Adios, mofo.
The best podcast in the universe. Dvorak.org/NA.